The first thing I recognized was my underwear, not my shoulder, which felt like somebody had replaced the bones with hot gravel, not the monitor chirping beside my head, not the dry hospital air or the pressure cuff squeezing my arm. My underwear, pale blue, folded into a square between my mother-in-law's rubber-gloved hands. Evelyn Vance stood at the foot of my hospital bed with an open green suitcase on the visitor chair. Another suitcase sat zipped beside her sensible black shoes. Inside the open one were clothes I had left hanging in my bedroom that morning. She glanced up. "Oh, you're awake. Why do you have my pants?" My voice came out thick, but the question was solid. Evelyn laid the underwear on top of my jeans and pressed down with both palms. "I'm packing. I see that. We were hoping to have everything settled before you came around. I turned my head toward the empty chair by the window. Grant's jacket wasn't draped over it. His travel mug wasn't on the sill. There was no half-eaten vending machine candy bar, no evidence he had ever been in the room. "Where's my husband?" Evelyn pulled the zipper halfway around the suitcase. Grant thought this would be less upsetting. I had gone into surgery with a husband. I woke up with 2 suitcases and his mother. That was a pretty efficient 4 hours. I tried to lift my right hand. Pain shot from my shoulder to my teeth, and I stopped before Evelyn could tell me not to be dramatic. A clear tube disappeared beneath the thick dressing near my collarbone. My arm was strapped against my body in a padded sling that made me look as if I were hugging myself through a personal crisis. Maybe I was. Evelyn removed one glove finger by finger. She had dressed for the occasion in gray slacks, a cream blouse, and the pearl earrings Grant gave her every Mother's Day, because he could never remember what he gave her the year before. "The surgeon said you'll need considerable assistance," she said. "The surgeon spoke to you?" The nurse explained enough. "Did Grant speak to the surgeon?" Her mouth tightened. I knew that mouth. It appeared whenever a waiter asked if everything tasted all right, and Evelyn wanted to complain without becoming the sort of woman who complained in restaurants. "Grant has been under a tremendous amount of stress," she said. "So he missed the surgery?" "He brought you this morning. He was supposed to stay. He did stay. For a while." The clock on the wall said 3:42. I remembered arriving before sunrise, Grant's hand warm at the center of my back as we crossed the parking lot. He had made a joke about the VA coffee being strong enough to strip paint. In pre-op, while a nurse searched for a vein, he had kissed my forehead and said, "I'll be right here when you wake up." It was such a small lie. That was what made it hurt. What's in the other suitcase? Shoes, toiletries, things you'll need for the next few weeks, things from my house. "Yes, Mara." "How'd you get in?" Evelyn looked almost offended. "Grant gave me his key. You went into our house while I was in surgery. We had limited time. For what?" The door opened, and a nurse came in carrying a plastic cup with 2 ice chips melting at the bottom. Her badge said, "Renee." She had silver streaks in her braids and the alert expression of a person entering a room where everybody had stopped talking too fast. "Well," Renee said, "welcome back. How's the pain?" "Interesting. That is not one of our approved numbers. 7. Evelyn stepped toward the bed. She's always had an unusually high pain tolerance. Renee looked at me. 7? 7. She checked the pump clipped to my IV pole, then looked down at the suitcases. "You heading somewhere?" My mother-in-law was about to tell me. Evelyn smiled. "There's been a change in the discharge plan." "Has there?" Renee asked. "She'll be recovering at the Hawthorne Suites. It's very close." I stared at Evelyn. The Hawthorne Suites was an extended-stay hotel beside an interstate interchange, famous mainly for weekly rates and a billboard where the letter H had been dark since the previous winter. "Who booked a hotel?" "Grant did," Evelyn said. "Well, I made the reservation, but he agreed it would be best." Renee's eyes moved between us. "Discharge isn't today. Probably tomorrow afternoon, assuming everything looks good." "Of course," Evelyn said. "We're simply prepared." I swallowed. My mouth tasted like pennies in plastic. Prepared for how long? The initial reservation is 10 days. And after that? "We'll see how you're doing." No. After that, where am I supposed to live? Evelyn picked up the loose glove and folded it into her palm. She always needed something to do with her hands when she was telling somebody what their life was going to be. Grant needs space, she said. Renee became very interested in the IV tubing. What did he say? I asked. Evelyn exhaled through her nose. This isn't the appropriate time. You packed my bras while I was unconscious. The appropriate time waved goodbye somewhere around lunch. Mara? What did my husband say? He said he can't do this anymore. The monitor beside me accelerated, not dramatically. 3 quick notes, then 4. Evelyn glanced at it as if I were being rude on purpose. Renee set the cup down. I can give you some privacy. No, I said. Evelyn said, that would be helpful. No, I repeated. She stays. Renee stayed. I let my head sink back into the pillow. The ceiling tile above me had a brown water stain shaped like Florida. I stared at the panhandle until the room stopped moving. Did Grant tell you he wanted a separation? I asked. He told me he was exhausted. That wasn't my question. He said he couldn't be responsible for your recovery on top of everything else. What's everything else? Evelyn's face softened, which was worse than if she had smirked. Living around the pain, the appointments, the army still taking up every room in the house. The army has been out of our house for 9 years. You know that isn't true. I did know what she meant. There was a storage tub in the hall closet with my old patches, commendations, and a pair of boots I had never been able to throw away. There were 3 photographs on the study wall. There was a dent in the garage workbench from the first time my hand lost strength without warning, and I dropped a socket wrench. Mostly there was me. What exactly did you pack? Clothes, medications, personal items. My medications were in my overnight bag. You had bottles all over the bathroom. Vitamins are not medications. I wasn't going to read every label. You shouldn't have touched any label. Renee made a small sound that might have been a cough hiding a laugh. Evelyn heard it too. I am trying to help, she said. Where's the blue binder? What binder? The binder Grant brought with us this morning. The one with the surgeon's instructions, my medication list, the insurance approvals, and the physical therapy schedule. I didn't see a blue binder. It was in Grant's hand when they took me back. He must have brought it home. Then where is it now? I have no idea. The answer came too quickly. I watched her place both gloves into the trash can. Her left pearl earring hung slightly lower than the right. She had packed my house in a hurry. Whatever story she and Grant had put together, they had expected me to be groggier than this. Did you go into the study? I asked. I gathered what you needed. That's not an answer. I put some of your papers in a tub. What papers? All that army material, manuals, old cards, loose folders. You keep too much. A coldness moved through me that had nothing to do with the hospital gown. The blue binder was on top of the file cabinet. Then it's probably in the tub. Where's the tub? Your garage. Where in the garage? I don't remember. I closed my eyes. During 12 years in the Army, I had learned that panic was often just a list nobody had written down yet, so I wrote the list in my head. I was in a hospital bed after major shoulder surgery. My dominant arm was immobilized. My husband had left. His mother had entered my house, packed my clothes, removed my recovery instructions, and booked me into a hotel. Grant was not answering for any of it. Pain 7. Problem count increasing. I opened my eyes. Call him. Evelyn blinked. I don't think that's wise. Use my phone then. It's in the drawer. You need rest. I need my husband. Grant asked me to handle this. You're handling it badly. Her chin lifted. You don't have to make every disagreement an operation. No, but I do like knowing the objective. This is exactly what he means. Everything is procedures and plans with you. A marriage isn't a convoy. No. On a convoy, people show up. Renee turned away, but not before I saw the corner of her mouth move. Evelyn's eyes flashed. For half a second, she looked less like a concerned mother and more like a woman who had been waiting years to say something without Grant interrupting. He feels useless around you, she said. Did you know that? The pain pump clicked. He isn't useless. That's not the same as making him feel useful. I thought about Grant trying to assemble the shower chair 2 nights earlier. He had thrown away the instructions, attached one leg backward, then laughed when it rocked. Looks like government contracting, he'd said. I had laughed too. Then I had taken the chair apart and rebuilt it. At the time, it seemed faster. Call him, I said again. Evelyn crossed her arms. He's at my house, sleeping. Then wake him. He was up all night, so was I. You were sedated. Not all night. He needs rest if he's going to think clearly. I looked at Renee. Could you hand me my phone? Evelyn stepped between her and the drawer. It was a tiny movement, almost polite. That made it more honest. Renee's expression changed. Ma'am, she said to Evelyn, I need access to that side of the bed. I'm only trying to... That side of the bed. Evelyn moved. Renee took my phone from the drawer, plugged it into the charger, and placed it in my left hand. You've got about 12%. Plenty. There were no calls from Grant after 10:18 that morning. One text sent while I was in surgery. Mom's going to help get some things organized. Don't worry. That was it. I called him. It rang 6 times before going to voicemail. Hey, this is Grant. You know what to do. I did know what to do. I had been doing it for 10 years. Grant, I said after the beep. I'm awake. Your mother is here with 2 suitcases of my clothes and a hotel reservation. I'm going to ask you once to come back to the hospital and tell me, in your own words, what you decided while I was unconscious. Evelyn shook her head slowly. I continued. Bring the blue binder. If you don't know where it is, find it. I ended the call. You threatened him, she said. I asked him to show up. He'll hear it as a threat. Then he should examine why. You see, you can't stop. Stop what? Being harder than everybody else. The sentence landed somewhere deeper than the surgical pain. Evelyn knew it had. Her face changed, regret arriving just late enough to be useless. She picked up her purse. I'm going to get coffee. Leave the suitcases. They're yours. I know. That's why I said leave them. She hesitated, then moved the open suitcase off the chair and set it beside the other one. A sleeve from one of my flannel shirts had caught in the zipper. She freed it with surprising gentleness and tucked it inside. At the door, she looked back. He does love you, Mara. I almost asked which one of us she was trying to comfort. Instead, I said, Bring me my house key. Her fingers tightened around her purse strap. Grant gave me his. Bring it anyway. She left without promising. Renee waited until the door closed. You want me to note that she's not authorized to receive any information? Yes. And visit? I looked at the 2 green suitcases. Not yet. Renee nodded, tapped something into the computer, and asked whether my pain was still a 7. 8. That number I can work with. While she adjusted the medication, I opened my contacts and found Jules Mercer. We hadn't spoken in 3 weeks. Our last conversation had ended with her accusing me of pretending surgery was a dental cleaning, and me accusing her of owning 6 identical black T-shirts. She answered on the second ring. If you're calling from post-op, she said, I win $10. I need a ride tomorrow. There was a pause, not hesitation. Jules was clearing space in her head. Grant gets sick? No. Car trouble? No. What happened? I watched the medication enter the line. The edges of the room were softening. I woke up, I said, and Evelyn was packing my bags. Jules was silent for 2 beats. Then she asked, Packing them for where? A hotel. Another beat. Does Grant know he's dead? Apparently this was his idea. Ah. Her voice went calm. So nobody's dead yet. Can you pick me up tomorrow? I'll be there. I may need help finding my recovery binder. Where is it? In a plastic tub in my garage, underneath whatever pieces of my life Evelyn decided were clutter. Jules inhaled slowly. Are you going to the hotel? Across the room, afternoon light fell through the blinds in narrow white bars. Evelyn had aligned the suitcases neatly beneath them, handles facing the door. "No," I said. "I'm going home." "Good," Jules said. "Because if you said Hawthorne Suites, I was going to hang up and call back when the anesthesia wore off. You could still be nicer to me. I could still be 6 feet tall. Life is full of disappointments." The medication warmed my arm. "What time?" she asked. "They're guessing afternoon. I'll be there at noon." "They won't release me at noon." "I know. I want to hear them tell me themselves." That was Jules. She distrusted schedules but respected an opportunity to annoy one. "I need clothes," I said. "You have clothes." I looked at the suitcases. "Apparently. And your cane? Home." "I'll bring it." "How are you getting into my house?" "I know where you hide the spare key." "No, you don't. Mara, half the county knows. It's inside a fake sprinkler head that's a different color from the other 6. I closed my eyes again. "Don't go inside until I'm with you." This time, her pause was hesitation. "Why?" "I don't know what Evelyn did in there." "You think she took something?" "I think she moved things." That sounded smaller. It also sounded worse. "All right," Jules said. "I'll wait, but I'm bringing coffee and I'm not buying it from this hospital. Renee says the hospital coffee is therapeutic." From beside me, Renee said, "I have never said that in my life." Jules heard her. "I like Renee. You've never met her. I like her more than your mother-in-law." The medication finally pulled me under before I could answer. When I woke again, the room was dark except for the television glowing blue with the sound muted. A weather map floated above the dresser. Someone had put a fresh cup of ice on my tray. My phone was charging and Grant had called 3 times. There was also a text. I can explain. Mom made this more dramatic than it needed to be. I read it twice just to make sure the drugs hadn't made me unfair. Then I called him. He answered immediately. "Mara? Who else? I've been trying to reach you. I had surgery. I know. I'm sorry. For the surgery? For all of it." He sounded tired. Evelyn had been right about that much. Grant's voice lost its edges when he was exhausted. He sounded younger, like the man I met at a backyard cookout who had smiled at the grease under my nails and asked if I knew anything about a carburetor. I told him yes. He handed me a paper plate and asked if I knew anything about potato salad. "Where are you?" I asked. "Mom's." "Why?" She was upset. "I'm the one in a hospital bed." "I know, but you handle things." For one moment, I could hear Evelyn inside him so clearly that it was almost a second voice. "What did you tell her?" "I told her we needed to make some changes." "Did you tell her to pack my clothes?" "I said you'd need things for the hotel." "So, yes. I didn't know she was going to bring them to the hospital." "Where did you think she'd bring them?" "I don't know. The room, I guess. I hadn't thought that far. That was Grant's specialty. He could make a decision at noon and be shocked when it still existed at dinner." "Why am I going to a hotel?" "Because you need somewhere quiet to recover." "Our house is quiet." "Not if I'm there." I listened to the low hum of the oxygen outlet above my bed. "Are you planning to scream?" "No." "Take up tap dancing?" "Mara, come on. What makes the house less suitable than a room beside Interstate 85? It's temporary." That doesn't answer me. I need to breathe. "Then you go to the hotel." He let out a hard little laugh. "Of course." "What does that mean?" "It means you always have the clean answer, like it's obvious." "It is obvious. To you." "Yes, Grant. The person asking for space is generally the person who goes somewhere else. I pay for that house too. So do I. I didn't say you don't. You said I should wake up from surgery and leave it. Mom should not have done this today. The careful placement of blame finally snapped something awake in me. She did it today because you asked her to. I asked for help. You asked your mother to go through our bedroom while I was unconscious. I knew if we talked before surgery, you'd cancel it." The monitor picked up again. "Why would I cancel a shoulder reconstruction we spent 8 months getting approved? Because you'd want to deal with us first." "There was an us to deal with?" "You knew things weren't good. I had known Grant was restless. He stayed late at the heating and cooling shop where he supervised inventory, then came home complaining he had spent the extra hours answering emails he could have answered from our kitchen. He watched television without following it. He had begun taking his phone into the garage when his mother called, not because there was anything secret about the conversations, but because he said, "I made faces." I made faces because Evelyn called 3 times a day. Knowing he was restless was not the same as knowing he had been waiting for anesthesia. "How long?" I asked. "What? How long have you been planning this?" "I haven't been planning." "That's the problem." "No, that's your defense." "I'm not defending anything." "Then answer." I talked to Mom last weekend. Last weekend, Grant and I had driven to Evelyn's house to fix the sagging door on her garden shed. I couldn't lift the door, so I knelt on the damp ground and talked Grant through resetting the hinge. Evelyn brought us lemonade and told me not to boss him. On the way home, Grant held my left hand across the console. "Was that before or after I fixed her shed?" I asked. "Don't do that." "Before or after?" "After." I pictured him calling Evelyn from our garage while dirt from her yard still dried on my jeans. "Bring me the binder." "I don't know where she put it." "She said the garage." "Then it's in the garage." "I need it here." "The hospital has your records." "It has its records. The binder has my schedule, the home instructions, the numbers for the equipment company, and the notes from pre-op. You know this. I can look tomorrow. You were supposed to bring it today." "I forgot." "No. You had it in your hand." Silence. I remembered the blue binder resting against his thigh in pre-op, his thumb marking the page where I had written the time he was supposed to call the equipment company. I remembered the nurse wheeling me away, and Grant lifting it like a little salute. "You took it home on purpose," I said. "I didn't want it left in the waiting room, and then Evelyn packed it." "I don't know. Come to the hospital. It's almost 10. You drove away while I was having surgery. You can drive back. I've had 2 beers. The old explanation, dependable as weather." I stared at the dark window. "Then don't." "Mara, I'm hanging up. I love you." He said it fast, as if trying to wedge the words into the door before it closed. I held the phone against my left ear. The weight of it made my hand ache. "Did you ask Evelyn to pack my service things?" "No. Did you know she did?" "She told me she straightened up the study." "That wasn't what I asked. I haven't been home since." "Why?" "Because I knew you'd call." That answer was so honest it left nothing to push against. "All right," I said. "What does that mean?" "It means I understand." "I don't think you do. I understand that you aren't coming." I ended the call before he could tell me he loved me again. The night nurse found me sitting upright at 1 a.m. with my feet on the floor. Her name was Linda, and she had pink reading glasses hanging from a chain. She stopped in the doorway. "What adventure are we considering?" "Bathroom, excellent destination. Poor solo strategy. I can walk." "I believe you." "I don't need, Mara." The way she said my name made me look at her. "Do you want to fall because your husband isn't here?" she asked. "Or do you want me to help you to the bathroom?" I hated her for 11 seconds. Then I said, "Help me." She steadied my left elbow while I stood. My knees trembled. The room tilted and nausea rolled through me so quickly I had to clamp my mouth shut. Linda waited without comment. She smelled faintly of lavender hand cream. "I'm not usually this wobbly," I said. "Nobody puts that on a resume." The walk took less than a minute. By the time I got back to bed, sweat had soaked the back of my gown. Linda tucked the blanket over my legs and set the call button where my left hand could reach it. "Use it," she said. "I will." "You said that like a person who won't. I'll use it." She gave me a look over the top of her pink glasses. Being disappointed in somebody is not a mobility aid. After she left, I pressed the call button 3 separate times during the night. Once for water, once for pain, and once because the blanket had twisted under my immobilized arm and I couldn't fix it. Each press felt like swallowing a tack. By 8, Evelyn had texted that she was coming with breakfast. I told her not to. At 8:10, she replied, "You need to eat." At 8:11, I wrote, "The hospital has food." She didn't answer. Grant didn't call again. The surgeon came in shortly after 9 with a resident and a tablet. Dr. Patel was a compact woman with a habit of speaking in complete paragraphs. She inspected the dressing, tested sensation in my fingers, and told me the repair had gone as planned. "You'll be tempted to negotiate with the restrictions," she said. "I won't." She looked over her glasses. "You tried to persuade me that changing a tire one-handed counted as lower body activity. That was theoretical. It was last Tuesday." The resident smiled at his shoes. Dr. Patel reviewed the restrictions. No driving, no lifting, no reaching, no showering until the drain was removed. Sleep partly elevated. Keep the sling on. Start assisted motion only after the follow-up. "Who's at home with you?" she asked. "No one." Her expression stayed neutral. "Yesterday it was your husband. Yesterday had several revisions. We can keep you another night if your pain isn't controlled." "My pain is controlled. Your support plan isn't. My friend is coming. Is your friend staying with you?" "Not full time." I expected an argument. Instead, Dr. Patel said, "Then show me you can manage the stairs with physical therapy and tell your friend she's part of discharge teaching. She didn't save me. She gave me conditions." At 11:40, Jules walked into my room wearing one of her 6 identical black t-shirts, carrying my cane in one hand and a paper coffee tray in the other. She looked at me, then at the suitcases. "Wow," she said. "Your mother-in-law even packed the ugly flannel shirt. That shirt is warm. That shirt is why Grant left." I laughed, which pulled at the incision and turned into a groan. Jules set the coffee down and came close enough to look at my face. The joke disappeared from hers. "You all right?" "No." "Good. I was worried you were going to lie." She touched 2 fingers lightly to my left shoulder, the nearest either of us came to hugging in public. Then she nodded at the suitcases. "Which one has the explosives?" "Toiletries. Same thing at our age." At 1:30, after discharge instructions, a slow walk down the corridor, and an argument about whether my pain pills belonged within reach or locked in the trunk, Jules wheeled me through the hospital entrance. Evelyn was standing beside the curb with a cardboard drink carrier. She saw Jules loading the green suitcases into the back of her truck. "I thought you said not to bring breakfast," she said. I did. Evelyn held out a cup anyway. "Grant takes his coffee black." "I'm not Grant." Her hand lowered. "Are you taking her to the hotel?" she asked Jules. Jules looked at me. "No," I said. "She's taking me home." Evelyn's face changed before she could stop it. Not anger, fear. "You can't go home," Evelyn said. Jules paused with one suitcase halfway into the truck. I looked at Evelyn over the handles of the wheelchair. "That's a strange thing to say to somebody who lives there. I mean today. You can't go home today. Why? Because the house isn't ready. Ready for what? For you. The stairs, the bathroom, the bed. Grant said the hotel has an accessible shower. The hotel website says it has free waffles. That isn't relevant. It's the only research anybody did." Evelyn glanced toward the hospital doors, maybe hoping a person in scrubs would appear and declare her in charge. "You're on medication," she said. "Yes, you shouldn't make a decision this important while you're impaired. I made the decision before the medication. I've lived there 11 years. Jules finished shoving the suitcase into the truck bed. She's also been cleared for discharge. Evelyn turned to her. "This is family business. That's what people say when the family is doing something embarrassing." "Jules," I said. "What?" "I'm being charming." Evelyn's mouth formed a narrow line. "Grant specifically asked me to manage this. Grant specifically asked a lot of people to do things he should have done himself." She looked down at me. "You don't understand the condition the house is in." A gust of hot air carried exhaust from the pickup lane. My sling trapped sweat beneath my arm. The incision pulsed with every heartbeat. "What condition is it in? I was organizing. You said you packed clothes." "I did. What else?" She shifted the drink carrier into her other hand. Grant's coffee sat beside a tea she had probably ordered for me, because Evelyn considered coffee another piece of military damage. "Mara, don't turn this into an interrogation. Did you move furniture?" "No." "Did you throw anything away?" "No." The answer was immediate, but her eyes went to the suitcases. Did Grant? No. Then the house is ready. I put my left foot on the pavement. Jules caught the wheelchair before it rolled backward. Easy, Rambo. Don't call me that. I'll stop when you stop trying to eject yourself from medical equipment. She set the brake, handed me the cane, and helped me stand. Evelyn watched me struggle upright. Her face did something complicated: concern, irritation, and a flicker of satisfaction that I hated myself for noticing. "You can barely walk," she said. "I walked the hospital stairs. With help." "Yes, Evelyn. People are allowed to need help without surrendering their address." That one hit. Her shoulders drew back. Jules opened the passenger door and moved a pillow against the seatbelt so it wouldn't press directly across my dressing. I had taught her that trick when she broke 2 ribs in a motorcycle accident 5 years earlier. She had complained the entire time. Now she adjusted it without asking. Evelyn stepped between me and the truck. "Wait." Jules froze. "That's not a position I'd recommend." Evelyn ignored her. "If you go there angry, you'll only make things worse. I haven't been there yet, so what exactly am I angry about? I didn't mean move." She did. Jules helped me into the seat 1 inch at a time. By the time the door closed, I was nauseated and trembling. Through the windshield, Evelyn stood on the curb holding coffee for 2 people who did not want it. She called before we left the hospital grounds. Jules glanced at the screen mounted on her dashboard. "Want me to answer?" "No. She'll call Grant. She's probably already calling him." "Want me to answer when he calls?" "No. You take all the fun out of friendship." We drove with the air conditioning low because the vent blowing directly on my shoulder made it ache. Jules's truck smelled like vinyl, coffee, and the peppermint gum she chewed when she was worried. Traffic crawled past shopping centers and gas stations. Normal people carried groceries to their cars. A man in paint-stained pants loaded a ladder onto a van. 2 women argued cheerfully over whether a houseplant would fit in their back seat. I watched all of them with the strange resentment of somebody whose life had become ridiculous in private. "What did Evelyn mean about the house?" Jules asked. "She said she was organizing. That word covers a lot of felonies. She said she didn't throw anything away. People only volunteer that sentence when trash bags are involved." I turned my head toward the window. Jules reached for her coffee. "Grant really hasn't been back? He said he hasn't. You believe him?" "Yes." That sounded painful. It's his most believable behavior. She drove another mile before speaking. "You want me to stay tonight? I'll be fine. You can't take off your own shirt. I have button-downs. You can't button them one-handed." "I can. You can also make coffee with a sock and an immersion heater." "That doesn't mean you should." I smiled despite myself. "Go to work. Bev can cover." Bev thinks brake fluid is a brand. She knows enough to sell it. The last time you left her alone, she gave someone a lawnmower filter for a Honda Civic. The customer said, "Honda, you're proving my point. My point is I can stay." I looked down at the sling. My fingers were swollen. Beneath the dressing, my body felt foreign and fragile, like equipment I had signed for without being shown how to operate. "Until I'm settled," I said. Jules nodded as if I had offered her something instead of accepting it. Our street was quiet when we turned onto it. The recycling bins were still at the curb, even though collection had been the previous morning. Grant always forgot to bring them in unless I texted him. His truck wasn't in the driveway. Evelyn's car wasn't there either. Jules parked close to the front walk. "You wait. I can walk to my own door." "Wonderful. Wait while I get your cane." She came around, opened my door, and guided my feet to the pavement. The ride had stiffened everything. Standing sent a bright blade beneath my shoulder blade. "Breathe," Jules said. "I am. You're doing an impression of it." I waited until the pain receded enough to see around it. The fake sprinkler head lay on its side in the flower bed. Its empty underside faced the sky. Jules saw it too. Did Grant take the spare? Maybe. Evelyn? Probably. "Do you have your key?" "In my purse." My purse was wedged beneath a suitcase in the truck bed. Jules went back for it. I stood in the driveway staring at the overturned sprinkler head. It was a small thing. Evelyn had found the spare, used it, and not bothered to put the cover back. The front flower bed had always irritated her. She said the stone border looked unfinished. For 11 years she had entered through that door as a guest. The difference between a guest and an owner was sometimes just what they left out of place. Jules found the purse, then found my key after a brief archaeological dig through lip balm, receipts, and 3 socket adapters I had forgotten were in there. "You carry enough hardware to build a bridge," she said. "Not currently." I unlocked the door. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Lemon furniture polish and Evelyn's perfume. Underneath it, the familiar mix of coffee grounds, old wood, and the cedar shavings Grant kept in a bowl because he thought they made the house smell expensive. The entry table had been cleared. The shallow blue dish where we dropped our keys was gone. So was the framed photograph of Grant and me at Lake Jocassee, both sunburned and laughing after our canoe flipped. The nail was still in the wall. Jules closed the door behind us. "Maybe she dusted it," she said. "She hates that picture. She hates lakes. She hates my bathing suit. Too much ankle." I laughed once, then pressed my left hand against my ribs until the pull in my shoulder stopped. On the stairs, 3 plastic tubs had been stacked against the wall. Christmas was written on the top one in my handwriting. The second said, Mara, Army. The third had no label. My blue recovery binder was not on top. Jules looked toward the living room. "Where do you want to sit?" "Upstairs." "No. The bedroom is upstairs. I understand houses. I need to see it." "You need not to fall. We did stairs at the hospital. With a physical therapist, you're less annoying than she was. Flattery won't get you a head injury. I put my cane on the first step." Jules swore under her breath, moved behind me, and placed one hand at my waist without touching the sling. We climbed the way the therapist had taught me. Cane, good foot, pause. Every step made the weight of my arm pull at the repair. Halfway up, I saw one of my old unit photographs wedged between the banister and the wall. The frame was cracked across the bottom corner. "Don't," Jules said when I stopped. "That was in the study. I'll get it." I kept climbing. At the top, the hall closet stood open. Empty hangers had been thrown across the floor. A pair of my old boots lay on their sides beneath Grant's winter coat. One lace trailed into the hallway. The bedroom door was closed. I had left it open when we went to the hospital. I remembered because Grant doubled back to check the windows, and I called from downstairs that we were going to be late. He came out of the bedroom holding the blue binder and said, "Yes, Sergeant." He had smiled when he said it. My hand shook on the doorknob. Jules moved closer. "Mara." I opened the door. The room was cleaner than I had ever seen it. My side of the closet was empty, not partly empty. The rod stretched bare from the wall to the row of Grant's shirts. My shoes were gone from the floor. My jewelry box had been removed from the dresser. The small ceramic tray where I kept my wedding ring while working with tools was gone. The bed had fresh sheets, only one pillow. For a second, that was the thing I couldn't stop looking at. Not the empty closet, not the missing pictures. One pillow centered neatly against the headboard. Jules walked past me and went still. On the floor near the bedroom chair sat a black contractor bag, something wooden pushed against the plastic. I knew the shape, my shadow box. I crossed the room too fast. Jules reached for me, but I knelt before she could stop me. Pain burst white behind my eyes. "Damn it, Mara. Open it. You need to stand. Open the bag." Jules crouched, tore the yellow drawstring loose, and peeled back the plastic. The shadow box lay face down inside with 2 framed photographs and the folded flag from my final retirement ceremony. One corner of the wooden frame had been chipped. Beneath them was the blue recovery binder. Jules lifted it carefully. A damp ring stained the cover. Someone had set a coffee cup on it. She handed it to me. Tucked beneath the clear plastic front was the schedule I had made for Grant, each instruction separated by time and highlighted in yellow. He had checked off the first item that morning. 5:15 a.m., drive Mara to VA. Everything beneath it was blank. The front door opened downstairs. "Mara?" Grant called. Jules rose. I stayed on the floor with the binder balanced across my knees. Grant came up the stairs slowly. He stopped in the bedroom doorway, looked at me beside the open trash bag, and closed his eyes. "Mom said you were coming here," he said. I touched the single check mark with my thumb. "Yes," I said. "She was afraid I'd see what you did." Grant opened his eyes. "I didn't do that." Jules still had one hand on the torn contractor bag. "You'll need to narrow it down. There's a lot of that in here. I didn't put her things in a trash bag." "No," I said. "You just gave Evelyn a key and a deadline. I told her to pack what you'd need. For a hotel. For somewhere you could recover. Stop changing the noun and answer the sentence." He looked at the binder across my knees. "You shouldn't be on the floor." Interesting priority. "Mara, you just had surgery. I remember." He stepped into the room. Jules moved between us without making it obvious. Grant noticed. His face tightened. "I'm not going to hurt her." "I know," Jules said. "That would require showing up. Can we not do this with an audience?" I planted my cane beside me and tried to rise. The first attempt went nowhere. My legs had strength, but pushing with my left hand shifted my weight toward the operated shoulder. Pain rolled through me. Grant came forward. "Let me help." "No. You're going to rip something." I said no. Jules crouched beside me, left hand on my forearm. "Don't pull. Use your legs." I followed her instructions. She counted quietly, and on 3 I stood. The room dimmed at the edges. Grant watched, helpless in exactly the way Evelyn accused me of making him feel. I leaned against the dresser until the dizziness passed. "You lied to me," he said. The unfairness was so pure I almost admired it. "About what? You said Jules was taking you to the hotel. I never said that." Mom said, "Your mother asked Jules." I answered. "She told me you agreed." "Then your mother lied to you." He looked toward the empty closet as if Evelyn might be hiding behind his shirts to explain herself. "I asked for 10 days, he said. "That's all." 10 days of what? Space. From me? From the pressure. What pressure did I create while I was unconscious? His jaw moved. Grant had a slight overbite he hid when he was angry by pressing his bottom teeth forward. I had noticed it on our 3rd date. I had once thought it was endearing. "You know it didn't start today," he said. "Then you should have started the conversation before today." I tried. "When?" "Last month, when we were lying in bed and I said I didn't know how we were going to manage after surgery. You asked whether we should hire someone to clean the gutters. I was talking about more than gutters." "No, Grant, you were talking about gutters. I cannot be responsible for the secret second conversation you had in your head." Jules picked up the blue binder and moved it to the dresser. Then she took my folded flag from the bag. She held it against her chest with both hands, careful not to touch the fabric through the triangular case. Grant looked at it and flinched. "I'm going to kill Mom." "No, you're going to call her," I said, "on speaker." "What good will that do?" "I want to know what you told her. I already told you. You've told me 6 versions. I said I was exhausted. I said I couldn't take care of you after surgery. I said we needed time apart. She offered to help. And you gave her the key. Yes. And you booked the hotel. She booked it. You agreed. Yes. And you left the hospital." He looked at me. Yes, there it was. Small, exhausted, almost irritated. Yes. I had expected betrayal to sound bigger. In movies, it came with rain or broken glass. In my bedroom, it came while the air conditioner clicked on and one of Grant's shirts slid off a hanger. "Why did you leave?" I asked. "I couldn't sit there. You could have stood." "Mara." "No, I'm curious. Was the chair uncomfortable?" "I was having a panic attack. That stopped me." Grant had never used those words before. He called panic attacks bad spells or too much caffeine. He mocked the breathing exercises his doctor showed him because, according to Grant, he had been breathing without professional help since 1984. "What happened?" I asked. They gave me one of those pagers. I was sitting under that television in the waiting room, and a volunteer asked if I wanted crackers. I couldn't breathe. My hands went numb. Why didn't you tell someone? I did. I called Mom. Of course he did. She came to get you? She talked me through it. Then she said I shouldn't be alone. You weren't alone. I was 40 feet away. You were in surgery. I mean the waiting room. That's not what I meant. For a moment, his fear stood in the room beside us, real and ugly and undeserving of what he had built around it. I softened. I felt it happen and hated that too. You could have called Jules, I said. He glanced at her. Jules doesn't like me. I liked you fine before lunch, she said. You could have told the nurse, I continued. You could have gone outside for 10 minutes and come back. You could have called me when I woke up. I knew what you'd say. What? That I should have handled it better. Would I have been wrong? His face closed again. That's the pressure. The softness disappeared. Grant picked up my unit photograph from the floor and turned it over. The cracked corner caught against his thumb. I didn't know she did any of this, he said. You knew she was packing me out of my own house. I didn't think of it that way. You didn't have to. You had your mother do the thinking. Mara, I am trying to tell you I was scared, and I'm trying to tell you scared people are still responsible for where they put the knife. Jules made a quiet sound through her nose. Grant turned on her. Could you give us 5 minutes? Jules looked at me. It would have been easier to let her stay. That was exactly why I said, go downstairs. I'll be at the bottom of the steps. You don't have to guard me. I'm guarding the stairs. They look dishonest. She took the flag case and shadow box with her, one under each arm. At the door, she said to Grant, if she tries to lift anything, stop her. You can pretend it's a shelf at Evelyn's. When she was gone, Grant closed the bedroom door halfway. Open it, I said. He opened it. I moved toward the bed, then stopped at the sight of the single pillow. Where's mine? What? My pillow? I don't know. It was here this morning. Mom changed the sheets. Why? She said you'd be gone for a while. 10 days? He rubbed his face. I didn't tell her to make the bed, but she thought you'd sleep here. I guess. With my side empty. I guess. And you didn't come home because you knew I'd call? I went to Mom's because I couldn't face this house. The first honest sentence did not cancel the rest, but it changed the temperature. Grant sat on the edge of the bed. He looked wrinkled and unshaven, still wearing the blue shirt from the hospital. There was a dark coffee stain near his cuff. I wondered if it came from the cup that marked my binder. I didn't want you to cancel the surgery, he said. You needed it. So you waited until I couldn't object. That sounds awful. It was awful. I thought if you went somewhere for a week, maybe we could both think. I'll have a drain in my shoulder. I'll be taking narcotics. I can't shower alone. What thinking did you imagine I'd do in room 214 beside the interstate? The hotel has staff. It has a front desk. He stared at the carpet. Were you coming with me? I asked. To the hotel? Yes. No. Were you planning to check on me? Of course. When? Every day. Before or after work? I don't know. After. And if I needed help at 2 a.m? You could call. Who? Me. You've had 2 beers. That was tonight. And tonight is the first night. He stood abruptly. Fine. It was a bad plan. It wasn't a plan. It was an evacuation. You always do that. Do what? Use words that make me sound cruel. I'm using words that describe what happened. You think because you say things calmly, they don't hurt. There was a challenge in his face. He wanted me to admit I could hurt him. He wanted a wound we could place beside mine and call the situation even. I looked at his wrinkled shirt and the exhausted skin beneath his eyes. I know I've hurt you, I said. Grant's shoulders lowered. But I didn't wait until you were under anesthesia to do it. He turned away. Downstairs, a cabinet opened and closed. Jules was making enough noise to remind us she existed. I can't take care of you, Grant said. I didn't ask you to become a nurse. You made a schedule. You asked for one. It has alarms. For medication, It has boxes to initial, so we wouldn't double dose me while I'm impaired. You don't hear how that sounds? Safe? Like a job. I looked at the binder. You promised. I know. No, I don't think you do. My knees were beginning to shake again. Grant noticed and pulled the desk chair toward me. I almost refused. Then I sat. He crouched in front of me, keeping distance between his hands and my sling. What happens now? He asked. I recover. I mean us. I know what you meant. He waited. I don't know, I said. The answer frightened him more than anger would have. He looked toward the open door. Are you staying here tonight? Yes. You can't get in and out of this bed. I'll use the living room. The couch is too low. Then we'll solve it. We, Jules and me. His face tightened again. I can stay. No, this is my house too. You can stay because it's your house. You cannot stay because you think one night of helping me will rewrite today. I didn't say that. You were about to. He stood. I'll go to Mom's, he said. I'll tell her to bring your key back. Tell her not to enter this house again unless I invite her. She'll take that badly. She packed my wedding ring. His eyes flicked toward the empty dresser. What? The ceramic tray is gone. I'll find it. No. I will. I pushed myself upright with the cane. Grant moved toward me, then stopped before touching me. At the door, he looked back at the black contractor bag. I'm sorry about your flag. That isn't my flag. He frowned. It's the one they gave me, I said. Mine is the one I'm standing in. He did not understand, but he knew better than to ask. After he left, Jules came upstairs carrying the missing blue key dish. Found this in a box marked Donate, she said. Inside it lay my wedding ring. Beneath the ring was Grant's house key. Jules tilted the dish so the key slid against the wedding ring. That his? The key hung from a worn brown leather tab, stamped with the logo of the heating and cooling company where Grant worked. I'd given it to him after he lost his third key in 6 months. The leather was supposed to make it harder to misplace. Yes. He leave it? He gave it to Evelyn. Right. Jules looked toward the stairs, then back at the box in the hallway. So Evelyn used it, put it in your key dish, put your ring in the dish, and marked the whole thing for donation. Looks that way. Efficient woman. There was no humor in her voice now. I lifted my ring with my left hand. The pale groove around my finger had nearly disappeared since I removed it for surgery. I held it over the tip of my thumb, then set it back in the dish. You don't have to decide that today, Jules said. I'm not deciding anything. You're looking at it like it asked a question. I'm looking at it like it was in a donation box. Fair. She offered me Grant's key. Put it back, I said. In the box? In the dish. She did. We found the donation box in the guest room, along with 2 others. One held my winter clothes and a collection of paperback mysteries. The second contained kitchen items Evelyn had never liked. My cast iron skillet, 4 chipped mugs, and the red colander she once said looked like camping equipment. The third box held an old quilt Grant's grandmother made, 2 pairs of my work boots, and the photograph from the entryway. Jules picked up the framed lake picture. You do show a lot of ankle. Put it somewhere safe. She set it on the guest room dresser beside the dish. I stood in the doorway, my cane planted between my feet, while my shoulder throbbed in time with my pulse. The boxes turned Evelyn's opinion of me into categories: keep, store, donate. She hadn't merely packed for a hotel, she had edited the house. We need to get you downstairs, Jules said. I want to check the study. No. She may have thrown away. No. I looked at her. Jules crossed her arms. You're sweating through a hospital gown. Your lips are gray. You have been upright too long, and if you pass out, I can't carry you without wrecking that shoulder. I'm fine. That phrase should be removed from your vocabulary until at least Tuesday. I need my medication, which is downstairs. I wanted to argue. My body betrayed me by swaying. Jules stepped close enough that her arm brushed mine. Cane, foot, pause. Be mad on each landing. Going down was worse. I could see the distance I would fall. Jules descended one step below me, walking backward despite my repeated instruction that this was unsafe. "So is letting you operate stairs unsupervised," she said. "I'm meeting your bad decision halfway." At the bottom, the living room looked mostly untouched. Evelyn had removed a knitted throw from the couch and centered Grant's recliner in front of the television, but the books remained on the shelves. My reading glasses sat on the side table. The couch cushions came to mid-calf. "If I sit there, I'm staying until spring," I said. Jules tested Grant's recliner. The release lever was on the right. "Could use this. I can't operate it. I can. And if I need to get up while you're gone, you're making a powerful case for me not leaving." The dining chairs had arms and firm seats, but no place to support my head. We built a temporary arrangement with one chair, an ottoman from the study, and 3 pillows. Jules opened the blue binder on the table and found the number for the medical equipment company. "They can deliver the lift recliner tomorrow morning," she said. "We didn't reserve one. You wrote here that Grant was calling Monday." He had not checked that box. Jules dialed. While she explained the situation, I opened one of the suitcases. Evelyn had packed 6 pairs of jeans, 3 sweaters, 2 bras that fastened in the back, and 1 button-down shirt. She had also packed both of my steel-toed work boots. There was no toothbrush. "Maybe she expected you to chew on a boot," Jules said after hanging up. "Is the chair coming?" "Between 9 and 2. That's a 5-hour window. That's how civilians create suspense." The pain medication was in a side pocket of the second suitcase. Evelyn had packed each bottle in a plastic sandwich bag and labeled it with my name, as though we were going to summer camp. Jules read the discharge sheet and handed me the correct pill. "I know what I take." "Excellent. Then this will feel familiar. I don't need you to supervise. You told Linda you'd use the call button." I stared at her. "How do you know about Linda? You talk when you're medicated." "When? In the elevator. You also said Dr. Patel has judgmental eyebrows. She does." Jules made tomato soup and a grilled cheese sandwich. She cut it into 4 squares without mentioning that I couldn't manage a whole sandwich one-handed. I ate 2 pieces before nausea won. Grant texted while Jules was helping me transfer from the dining chair to the half-reclined nest she had made from pillows. "Mom found your pillow. I can bring it over." A second message appeared. I didn't know she was donating anything. I turned the phone face down. "You want him here?" Jules asked. "No." "That answer for tonight or forever?" "Tonight." "Good. Forever is above my pay grade." "You're not getting paid. Then my grade is extremely low." After dark, she went upstairs and came back with my jewelry box, 3 loose photographs, and a duffel of button-down shirts she found under a camping tarp in the garage. She'd also found the tub labeled Mara, Army. "I didn't bring it in," she said. "Too heavy. But it's closed and dry. Was anything in the trash? Packing paper, empty hangers, one of Grant's old fantasy football trophies. Evelyn hated that trophy. It's ugly. She didn't earn it." Jules sat on the floor beside my chair and inspected the hem of one of my shirts. "She packed, like she expected you not to come back." I watched the television without seeing it. Grant said 10 days. Evelyn didn't. At 10, Jules helped me change. There are people who can undress you without making it intimate. Nurses do it. Medics do it. Jules had once cut my pants off beside a highway after I tore my knee open on a motorcycle exhaust pipe. That had felt practical. This did not. I stood in the downstairs bathroom while she untied the hospital gown and slid the fabric away from the sling. The mirror showed yellow antiseptic stains across my neck and bruises blooming beneath the dressing. Jules kept her eyes on the shirt. "Left arm first," she said, "then around the back. Don't move the right." I know you know." The shirt snagged beneath the sling. A hot tearing sensation shot across my chest, and I gasped. Jules froze. "Did I hurt you?" "No." "Mara." "It pulled. That's all." Her hands remained still until I nodded. When the shirt was buttoned, I saw her face in the mirror. Jules had gone pale. "You all right?" I asked. "I'm fantastic." That phrase should be removed from your vocabulary. Tuesday. We slept badly. Jules took the couch and set alarms on her phone for my medication. I drifted in and out beneath the dining room chandelier, waking whenever my shoulders shifted. At 3, I needed the bathroom and considered going alone. Then I remembered Linda's pink glasses. Jules. She sat up immediately. What? Bathroom. All right, no joke. No celebration that I had asked. She walked beside me, half asleep and barefoot, then waited outside the door while I managed what I could. On the way back, I saw the empty nail above the entry table. Did you move the key dish downstairs? I asked. No, bring it tomorrow. Why? I want it where it belongs. Morning light found every wrinkle in the room. My neck ached from sleeping upright. Jules made coffee strong enough to qualify as a controlled substance and burned the first batch of toast. My phone rang while she scraped black crumbs into the sink. Paige flashed across the screen. Grant's younger sister rarely called before noon. She believed mornings were an administrative error. Hey, I said, are you alone? I looked at Jules. No. Mom said you threw Grant out. Grant chose to stay with her. She said he came home to help and you wouldn't let him. He came home after I was discharged. He had a panic attack at the hospital. I know. She said you mocked him for it. What exactly did she say? I said. Paige went quiet. In the background, I heard a microwave beep and a cabinet door close. Mara, I'm not taking sides. Then why are you calling? To make sure you're okay. Are you asking me, or are you checking whether Evelyn's version sounds believable? Another silence. Grant looks terrible, she said. So do I. That isn't what I meant. I know. Paige sighed. Mom said you refused the hotel just to punish him. I refused the hotel because I live here. Did you know he wanted a separation? Not until I woke up and found Evelyn packing my underwear. What? The word came out sharp. Grant didn't tell you that part? No. Mom said the hotel was already planned. It was planned while I was in surgery. Jules stopped scraping the toast. Paige lowered her voice. Did Grant actually tell her to pack you? He admits he did. I need to call you back. Why? Because Mom just pulled into your driveway. The lock turned before I could answer. The front door opened 3 inches and caught on the security chain Jules had fastened during the night. Evelyn's face appeared in the gap. Mara! She pushed again, rattling the chain. Jules came out of the kitchen holding the burned toast like a weapon. I ended the call and stood slowly. You were told not to come in, I said. I brought your pillow. You used a key. I still have the spare. And Grant's key? Her eyes flicked toward the entry table, where the blue dish now sat beneath the empty nail. Grant's key lay beside my wedding ring. Evelyn stopped pushing the door. I wondered where that went, she said. No, I told her. You knew exactly where you put it. Evelyn's hand disappeared from the gap. The security chain went still. I put it there so I wouldn't lose it, she said. In a box marked donate? It was an old box with my wedding ring. I gathered your valuables. And the red colander? Her face tightened. The kitchen things were separate. They were in the same room. You're deliberately confusing the issue. I'm trying to locate it. Jules set the burned toast on the entry table. It's all over the house. That's the problem. Evelyn pushed lightly against the door again. Would you take this chain off? I'm standing outside like a criminal. No one called you a criminal, I said. You were told not to enter. I brought your pillow. Through the narrow opening, I could see the edge of my white pillowcase tucked beneath her arm. That doesn't require you to unlock the door. I knocked. No, you didn't. I did. We were standing 10 feet away. Maybe you didn't hear me. Evelyn. A car door closed outside. Paige came up the walk wearing loose linen pants and carrying a paper bag against her hip. Her dark hair was twisted into a knot that appeared to be held together by resentment. She stopped behind her mother and looked through the opening at me. Hi, she said. You're in the car with her. I was, so you called from my driveway. 2 houses down. Mom said you might not answer if you saw us. Evelyn turned. You called her? Paige shifted the bag to her other arm. She had surgery. That wasn't what I asked. No, but it's the answer I'm comfortable with. Evelyn looked back through the gap. Could we please come inside and speak like adults? You tried to let yourself in. I have a key. Give it back. Her eyes narrowed. Grant gave me permission to use it. Grant gave you his key. The spare was mine. It's a household key. It was hidden on my property. Our property, Grant's voice would have said. Evelyn settled for, my son lives there. Then he can lend you his key again after he retrieves it from the donation box. Paige closed her eyes briefly. Evelyn lowered her voice. Mara, you are in pain. You haven't slept, and you're angry. I understand that. But turning a spare key into some kind of symbolic attack isn't helping anybody. Take it off your ring and hand it to me. You may need me. Then I'll invite you. I'm trying to prevent exactly this sort of stubborn, Mom, Paige said. Evelyn turned sharply. Stay out of this. You brought me. I brought you to help. Then let me help. The two women looked at each other. Grant and Paige had Evelyn's brown eyes, but only Paige knew how to hold them without flinching. Evelyn reached into her purse. She removed a crowded key ring and worked one key around the metal loop. I recognized the red rubber cap I had put on it years ago. She passed it through the gap. Jules took it. Now open the door, Evelyn said. No, I said. Her hand remained extended. Excuse me, Paige can come in. The paper bag crackled against Paige's hip. Evelyn stared at me. You're not going to make my daughter choose between us. I didn't. I asked whether she wanted to come inside. Paige looked at the pillow under her mother's arm. Give me Mara's pillow, Paige, unless you want to carry it home again. For a second, I thought Evelyn might drop it on the walk. Instead, she shoved the pillow into Paige's chest. And the bag? I asked. Paige lifted it. Toiletries. I stopped at the drugstore because Mom said she packed yours. She packed steel-toed boots. I know, I saw them. Something almost like a smile touched Paige's mouth. Evelyn noticed. This is not funny. No, Paige said. It's just very you. After everything I did yesterday, that's what we're discussing, I said. I was protecting your things, in a contractor bag, from dust. If I intended to throw them away, they would have been in the outside bin. That explanation was practical enough to be plausible, which made me angrier. You put my flag in there. It was in a glass case. It's a flag, Evelyn. It's folded fabric behind glass. Paige inhaled sharply. Evelyn seemed to hear herself only after the words were out. She looked past me toward the empty nail on the wall. I didn't mean it that way. How did you mean it? I meant it was protected. And the photographs? I had to clear the bedroom. Why? So Grant wouldn't have to look at everything while he decided what to do. There it was. Not a mistake. Not a reused box or an effort to protect wood from dust. She had emptied my side of the room to make his decision more comfortable. Paige looked at her mother. You told me Mara asked for space. I said they needed space. You said she knew. I assumed she did. No, I said. You counted on me not knowing. A white delivery van stopped at the curb. The driver checked a clipboard, looked at the number on our house, and started unloading a brown lift recliner. Jules glanced out the window. Good timing. Evelyn saw the chair and frowned. What is that? Something I can safely sleep in. The hotel already has an adjustable bed. I'm not going to the hotel. The reservation is non-refundable. Then Grant can use it. That is $740 wasted. Tell him to enjoy the waffles. The driver came up the walk with another man behind him. Both slowed when they saw Evelyn standing in front of a chain door, Paige holding a pillow, and Jules holding a key. Delivery for Vance? The first man asked. Yes, 4 of us said. He glanced down at the clipboard. I unhooked the chain. Evelyn moved toward the opening, but I stepped into it before she could cross the threshold. The motion pulled at my incision, and I had to grip the doorframe. Don't, I said. Her eyes went to the sling. You're going to hurt yourself making a point. I'm already hurt. The point remains. For one moment, she looked genuinely frightened for me. Then she stepped back. The delivery men carried the recliner inside while everyone pressed against the walls. One of them asked where it was going. Dining room, I said. Living room, Evelyn said at the same time. The man pretended to check his clipboard again. Dining room, Jules told him. Paige slipped inside with the pillow and the drugstore bag. I closed the door before Evelyn could follow. Through the glass, she stood on the porch with her purse held against her stomach. She looked older than she had at the hospital. Not defeated, abandoned. I hated that I could still feel sorry for her. Paige watched her mother walk back to the car. She's going to cry, she said. She has tissues. She packed them in your suitcase. Jules laughed so suddenly she snorted. Paige smiled, then covered it by carrying the pillow into the dining room. The recliner took up nearly half the space between the table and the china cabinet. The delivery men plugged it into the wall, showed Jules the controls, and made me demonstrate that I could operate them with my left hand. The motor hummed as the chair lifted me toward standing. "This thing is fantastic," Jules said. "You'll never leave it." "That's the business model," the driver said. After they left, Paige unpacked the drugstore bag on the dining table. Toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, shampoo, dry shampoo, cleansing wipes, and a pack of bendable straws. "You got the right deodorant," I said. She shrugged. "I've been in your bathroom. So has everyone, apparently." Paige set my pillow on the recliner and smoothed the case. Mom brought the wrong one. I looked at it more closely. The pillow was Grant's, the firmer one he slept on. Mine was thinner and had a small bleach mark near the seam. "She said she found mine," I said. "She probably doesn't know which is which." She packed the bedroom. Paige stopped smoothing. Jules carried our coffee cups into the kitchen. "I'm going to pretend there aren't 50 conversations happening in here." The faucet ran. Paige sat at the dining table. Her gaze moved over the empty spaces on the entry wall, the stacked tubs by the stairs, and the burned toast on the blue key dish. "I didn't know," she said. "Which part?" "That Grant planned to leave while you were in surgery. He says he didn't plan. That sounds like Grant. He talked to Evelyn last weekend." Paige rubbed a thumb along the edge of the table. "I knew he was unhappy." "How?" "He complains." "To you?" "Sometimes." "What did he say?" "That everything in the house has a correct way to be done. That you make lists for conversations. I made one list. It had columns." He kept interrupting. Despite herself, Paige smiled. Then it faded. "He said he feels like you're always waiting for him to fail. Was this before or after he failed to stay at the hospital?" "That's fair. No, it's recent." Paige looked toward the kitchen. Jules had stopped running water. "Grant isn't cruel," Paige said. "I know. Mom isn't either. I didn't say she was. That almost makes it worse. I understood what she meant. Cruel people were easy. The people who loved you while doing harm expected the love to erase the harm as it happened." Paige's phone buzzed on the table. Grant appeared on the screen. She answered. "Hey." His voice carried through the quiet room. "Are you at the house?" "Yes. Is Mom there?" "Not anymore." A pause. "Did Mara throw her out too?" Paige looked at me. "No," she said. Mom tried to unlock the door after Mara told her not to come in. She was bringing a pillow. The wrong pillow. "What?" "Never mind." He sighed. "How's Mara?" Paige kept looking at me. "Why don't you call and ask her?" "She won't answer." "You haven't called." Another pause. "I don't want to upset her." Paige's expression hardened into something I had never seen on her before. "Grant," she said. "She woke up without you. I think we're past that." Grant said something I couldn't hear. Paige turned off speaker. "No, I'm not going to translate for you." She held the phone toward me. "He wants to talk." I did not take it. "Tell him my phone works. She says her phone works." Grant's reply made Paige's eyebrows rise. "No," she said. "That isn't the same thing." "What did he say?" I asked. "He said he was giving you time." "Time for what?" Paige relayed the question. Grant's voice sharpened enough to carry. "I don't know, Paige." She held the phone away from her ear. "He doesn't know. I heard him. Mara heard you." Could everybody stop talking about me like I'm not on the phone? I leaned forward and took it from her. Hello, Grant. Hey. Neither of us spoke for a few seconds. I could hear movement behind him, then the distinctive clunk of Evelyn closing her dishwasher. He was still at her house. How's the pain? He asked. Managed. Did the chair come? I'm sitting in it. Good. I was going to call them. The call was on your list. I know, you didn't make it. I said I know. His defensiveness arrived before my accusation did. It always had. Do you need anything? He asked. It was the kind of question people asked when they wanted the answer to be no. My thin pillow, the medication organizer from the bathroom cabinet, the loose shirts Paige packed from the hall closet, my charger from beside the bed. I can get those. You're not at the house. I'll come by. When? After work. You're going to work? I can't just not go. I didn't say you should. You said it like you did. I closed my eyes. Bring your work clothes with you when you leave. What does that mean? It means don't come back every morning for clean socks and call it helping me. This is my house, Mara. Yes, I have a right to be there. Yes. You keep saying yes, like no. Then stop asking questions you've already answered. Paige looked down at the table. Her thumbnail worked at a scratch in the wood. Grant lowered his voice. Can we talk tonight? We're talking now. Without Paige and Jules. They can hear my side of the conversation. You're at Evelyn's house. She's in the kitchen. So am I, more or less. The dining room had become a command post built from pain medication, coffee cups, unopened mail, and a machine that lifted me to my feet. Nothing about it felt commanding. I mean in person, he said. Bring my things. We'll see. Do you want me to stay tonight? No. He was quiet. You didn't even think about it. I've thought about almost nothing else. I handed the phone back to Paige. She listened, said, okay, and ended the call. What did he say? I asked. That he loves you. He told you? He said, tell her I love her. He has my number. Paige put the phone face down beside hers. You two are exhausting. Jules came out of the kitchen with a fresh piece of toast. Finally, something we agree on. She left for the parts store when she was satisfied that Paige could operate the recliner and distinguish my pain medication from my vitamins. Before going, she stood in front of me with her hands on her hips. I'll be back at 6. You don't have to come back, I know. Paige is here. I can see Paige. Paige waved. I can handle 4 hours, I know. You're not listening. I'm listening. I just don't mistake your opinion for a decision. She kissed 2 fingers and pressed them to the top of my head before I could duck. Paige stayed. She did not hover. That surprised me. Evelyn considered silence an emergency, and Grant filled discomfort with television. Paige carried the donation boxes downstairs one at a time, setting them along the dining room wall where I could inspect them without climbing. Don't lift the one with the skillet, I said. I've moved apartments 6 times. That doesn't change gravity. Your bedside manner is terrible. I'm not at your bedside. That's probably on a list somewhere. We went through the boxes slowly. Evelyn had packed without a system that made sense to anyone but her. My winter coat was wrapped around a ceramic serving bowl. A photograph of Grant's college graduation was tucked inside one of my boots. The red colander contained loose batteries, a meat thermometer, and my Army Achievement Medal. Paige held up the medal by its ribbon. Was this in the kitchen? It was in my desk. Mom must have thought it was a bottle opener. She knows what it is. Paige put it on the table more carefully than she had picked it up. In the second box, we found my grandmother's recipe cards, 2 extension cords, and Evelyn's missing hand mixer. She accused me of stealing this last Thanksgiving, I said. She accused me too. Did you steal it? No. Did you? I don't bake. You made that pound cake. I bought that pound cake. Paige stared at me. I defended your baking. That was your mistake. She laughed, a real laugh that bent her forward. I laughed too, then pressed the recliner button to lift myself before my shoulder objected. Paige stopped immediately. I'm okay. You say that a lot. Jules says, I'm banned until Tuesday. What day is it? Thursday. You're in violation." She made tea and found crackers. At 1, an alarm sounded on my phone. Paige read the binder twice before handing me the medication, then initialed the box Grant had left blank. "You don't have to sign it," I said. "It says to sign. It's so doses don't get repeated." I understood the difficult pen technology. Her initials looked like 2 lightning bolts. At 2:30, her phone buzzed with a reminder. She glanced at it and swore. "What? I have a storage delivery at 4. You should go. I can reschedule. Go." I told them they could come any time between 12 and 5. Then they'll arrive at 4:59. "You're probably right. Did you measure the elevator?" Paige froze. "What?" "The storage unit has freight elevators. Did you measure the sofa against the opening? It fit in my last apartment. That wasn't my question." She reached for her phone, then stopped. For years, that was how it worked. Paige made a plan broad enough to sound reasonable, and I turned it into a plan that survived contact with doorways. I knew the dimensions of her sofa because I had helped her buy it. I knew the storage facility because I had compared rates and made the reservation after her divorce. "Don't," I said. "Don't what?" "Ask me to call them." I wasn't. You were about to. Paige's cheeks colored. "I can handle a couch." "I know. I've handled a lot more than a couch. I know that, too." She stood, picked up her purse, then looked at the boxes lining the wall. "Mom did this after my divorce," she said. "Packed your things?" "Organized." The word came out flat. She told everyone I couldn't make decisions because I was upset. She changed my mailing address to her house. She canceled my gym membership because I needed to save money. She returned a lamp I bought because it didn't match the apartment. What did you do? I let her. It was easier. She adjusted her purse strap. Then every time I tried to do something myself, she reminded me how much she'd already done. I looked at the hand mixer on the table. "Why didn't you tell me? You were fixing everything, too." The sentence was gentle. It still cut. Paige touched the back of a dining chair. "You asked first." That was the difference. But sometimes I didn't know how to say no to you either. I wanted to defend myself. I had practical evidence. Her movers had been late. Her electricity had almost been disconnected because she forgot the transfer. The storage company had charged her twice until I called. All of those things were true. "I'm sorry," I said. Paige blinked. She had been prepared for a list. "Okay," she said. "I mean it." "I know. That's why I don't know what to do with it. Measure the elevator." She smiled. "There she is." After Paige left, the house went quiet. I had wanted quiet. 10 minutes into it, I understood why the surgeon had asked who would be home. Getting water required lifting the chair, planting both feet, finding the cane, crossing the dining room, and carrying the glass in my left hand while using the cane incorrectly in my right, which I could not do. I drank at the sink. The front steps were beyond discussion. The upstairs might as well have been another state. My phone sat on the table, 3 feet beyond easy reach. I could have pressed the chair button, gotten up, and taken it. Instead, I stared at it. Needing something was not the same as being unable to survive without it. I had built an entire personality out of that difference. The landline rang in the kitchen. Nobody used it except telemarketers and Evelyn. It rang 6 times, stopped, then started again. I got up. By the time I reached the kitchen, the answering machine had picked up. "Mara, it's Evelyn. My washing machine is leaking again. Grant says you're the one who has the repair number, and there's water beneath the utility room cabinet. Please call me." The machine beeped. I stood beside the counter, breathing hard from 12 steps. The phone rang again. I answered. "You need to shut off the valves behind the washer," I said. "I can't reach them. Grant can. He went to work. Call the repair company. That's why I'm calling you. The number is on a magnet beside your refrigerator." Silence. "You put it there?" she asked. "Last time. I don't see it." "Then call any appliance service. You know which one is trustworthy." I looked at the empty blue dish in the entryway and the boxes in my dining room. "I'm not coming over," I said. "I didn't ask you to. You were going to. I need the number, Mara. I need to sit down. You always have to make a point. No, sometimes I just have surgery. I hung up. Grant arrived at 5:15 carrying my thin pillow, a grocery bag, and 6 white work shirts over one arm. Water darkened the cuffs of his jeans. "Mom's washing machine hose split," he said. I looked at the shirts. "Are those all you're taking?" He set the grocery bag on the table. "I thought," he said carefully, "we were going to talk first." Behind him, his keys still lay beside my wedding ring. I nodded toward the dish. Grant saw it. For the first time since the hospital, his anger pointed somewhere other than me. Grant crossed the entryway and picked up the key. He turned the leather tab over in his hand. Where was this? In the dish. Where was the dish? Box marked donate. He looked at my wedding ring, then at the boxes lined along the dining room wall. She told me I must have dropped my key at the hospital. She knew where it was. Why would she put my key in a donation box? You should ask her. He rubbed his thumb across the heating company's logo. The leather was dark at the edges from years in his pocket. Did she take the spare too? She returned it after trying to let herself in this morning. She came here? You know she did. I knew she brought the pillow. She didn't say you'd told her not to come. She didn't tell you she packed my wedding ring either. Grant's eyes went back to the dish. I didn't ask her to do this. I was getting tired of that sentence. It had become a magic trick. Grant would point to the worst object in the room, say he had not specifically requested it, and wait for responsibility to disappear. You told her to clear my things, I said. I told her to pack enough for 10 days. She removed the photographs from the walls. I can see that. She packed the metal from my desk in the red colander. What? It was between a meat thermometer and loose batteries. He looked at the boxes again. The anger in him was useful now. It gave him somewhere to stand that wasn't shame. He took out his phone. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Calling her. She's dealing with the washing machine." "Good. She can multitask." Evelyn answered on the first ring. "Grant, the repairman still isn't here, and the towels are completely soaked. Why was my house key in a box marked for donation?" A pause. "I have no idea what you mean. Mara found it." Another pause. Longer this time. "The blue dish?" she asked. "Yes." I set the dish in a box because I was clearing the table. "You told me I lost my key. I assumed you had. You used it yesterday. I had a lot on my mind. You put it in Mara's key dish. I emptied my pockets. And then you packed the dish. I was organizing." His gaze moved to me. He was hearing the word differently now. "Why did you pack Mara's wedding ring?" he asked. "I didn't pack it. It was already in the dish. You put the whole thing in a donation box. It was a box with that word on it. That doesn't mean I intended to donate the contents. For heaven's sake, Grant, I was working quickly. I was trying to do in one afternoon what the two of you should have done weeks ago." "Done what?" "Separated your belongings." The anger left his face so suddenly he looked sick. "I asked you to get clothes for the hotel. You asked me for help. I helped. You emptied her closet, so you wouldn't have to stare at it while you were deciding." "Mom." "What?" "You told me you couldn't breathe in that house. You told me everything reminded you of what you were supposed to be doing." I watched him grip the key. That wasn't permission to erase her. No one erased anyone. Mara is sitting right there, listening to a private conversation. Grant looked at the phone as if he had forgotten it was on speaker. "Mara lives there," Evelyn continued. "She has nowhere else to be." I almost laughed. Grant took the call off speaker and moved toward the kitchen. "No," I said. He stopped. "Put it back. Mara, this is between me and my mother. It became my business when she packed my underwear." He returned the call to speaker. Evelyn was still talking. "Do not appreciate being treated like I invaded your home when you handed me the key." "I know," Grant said, "but you went too far." "Of course. I always go too far the moment I'm no longer useful. That's not what I said. I canceled my hair appointment. I spent 5 hours carrying boxes. I paid for a hotel that nobody is using. Now my utility room is flooded because the only person in this family who knows how to fix anything wants to prove she can abandon people too. I felt the accusation find its target. Years of conditioning had placed a button inside me, and Evelyn could still press it from across town. Grant saw my face. "Mom, call the appliance company." I did. "They're late." "Then wait. You don't understand. The cabinet is swelling. I'll come back after I get my clothes. You left your father here lifting wet towels with his back." Grant closed his eyes. "Dad knows not to lift anything," he said. "He's not going to watch me do it alone." Grant was already looking toward the door. I could see the whole system working. Evelyn created a need. His father supplied guilt. Grant moved. Then everyone called the movement love. "Call Paige," he said. "She has that storage delivery." Of course, Evelyn knew. "Then leave the towels," Grant said. For 1 second, I thought he might hold the line. Evelyn sniffed. "Fine," she said. "I hope you and Mara have a productive conversation." She hung up. Grant stared at the dark phone screen. "That was new," I said. "What? You told her no. She'll keep lifting towels, then she's making a choice. She's 64. She's not made of spun sugar." He put the phone in his pocket. "Dad's back has been bad. Then he should sit down. You make it sound so simple?" "No, I make it sound like 2 adults can wait for a repairman without requiring a 3rd adult to abandon what he came to do." Grant sat at the dining table and pushed the grocery bag toward me. I brought soup, yogurt, those crackers you like, and the ginger candy from the pharmacy. The contents were thoughtful. That made everything harder. "Thank you," I said. He looked surprised. "I also brought your medication organizer. It's in the bag." "Thank you. I can do things right." "I know." "Then why do you always sound surprised?" "I don't." "You do. Every time I remember something, you say thank you like I'm a waiter who found your lost wallet. What would you prefer?" "I don't know." "Trust? That isn't payment for groceries." He rubbed his forehead. "I came here wanting to help. You also came with 6 shirts. I didn't know if you'd let me stay. Do you want to stay? This is what I mean." "What?" "Every question is a trap. It's a yes or no question." "No, it isn't. If I say yes, you'll say I'm only here because Mom made me angry. If I say no, I'm abandoning you again. I haven't said either thing. You're thinking them. You've spent a lot of time punishing me for conversations I didn't know we were having." He leaned back in the chair. "I don't know what I want," he said. "Then say that. I don't know what I want." It was not satisfying. It was, at least, his. I adjusted my hand inside the sling. The medication was wearing thin, and a deep ache had begun beneath the joint. "Are you leaving me?" I asked. "I asked for 10 days. That's not an answer. I can't decide everything while you're like this." "Like what?" "In pain. Vulnerable. So you could decide to remove me while I was vulnerable, but you can't decide whether to stay." He looked toward the recliner. "I knew you'd do this." "Do what?" "Make me the villain because I don't want to be your caregiver." I felt the sentence before I understood it. "I never asked you to want it. You made a binder." "For 6 weeks, Grant. Not the rest of your life. It's never just 6 weeks. There's always another appointment, another bad day, another thing you can't lift. You knew I was injured when you married me. I didn't know it would be in every room." I glanced at the stacked tubs. "Your mother fixed that." He winced. "I shouldn't have said that." "No. Leave it. I don't mean I'm ashamed of your service. I didn't say you were. I'm proud of you. Don't. I am." "Then don't use it as a speech before explaining why you resent me." Grant stood and paced to the china cabinet. His reflection moved across the dark glass. "I resent feeling incompetent," he said. "I didn't make you incompetent." "I know. Do you?" "You make a plan before I've even understood there's a problem. If I try to help, you correct me. If I don't help, you do it yourself and get quiet. Because if I don't make the plan, this happens." I pointed toward the boxes. "No," he said. "That happened because I stopped trying." The honesty hurt more than his excuses. He came back to the table and sat. "I have been failing you on purpose," he said. "Not like I sit there and plan it. But sometimes I see something needs doing, and I wait. I want to know if you'll notice. I want you to need me, and then when you do, I hate that too. I looked at him. You wanted me to need you, I said, but not need anything from you. His mouth twisted. Yeah. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The recliner motor hummed when I pressed the button to sit more upright. Grant reached toward my pillow, then stopped. Can I fix that? He asked. The question was so small it nearly broke me. Yes. He moved the pillow higher behind my neck. His fingers brushed my hair. He stepped back before I had to ask. Better? Yes. He nodded. Then Evelyn called again. Grant's phone vibrated across the table. Mom lit the screen. He turned it face down. It rang until voicemail answered, then immediately began again. I watched him watch it. You can go, I said. I'm not going. You're already there. He frowned. I nodded toward the 6 shirts. Take enough clothes to make your choice honestly? What does that mean? If you leave half your closet upstairs, you can tell yourself this isn't real. I don't want it to be real. Neither did I. Jules's truck pulled into the driveway. Grant picked up the shirts. I'll get more. He climbed the stairs without looking at the tubs. I heard drawers opening, closet hangers scraping, the zipper of a duffel. Jules came in carrying takeout containers and stopped when she saw the key beside my ring. He found it? Yes. How'd that go? He called Evelyn. Is South Carolina still standing? Barely. Grant came downstairs with a duffel on his shoulder and a garment bag over one arm. He had packed enough for more than 10 days. Jules moved aside to let him pass. At the door, he looked at me. Your follow-up is Monday at 9, he said. I know. I could take you. Jules already offered. I'm offering too. I looked at Jules. She gave me nothing, no rescue, no recommendation. I'll think about it, I said. Grant nodded and left. A minute later, my phone began filling with messages from the Vance family group. Evelyn had written that Grant was being forced out of his own home while I recovered from surgery, and she hoped everyone would give us privacy during this painful time. Grant's name appeared beneath the message. He was typing. The dots vanished. Then nothing. Paige answered first. That is not what happened. Evelyn responded almost immediately. This is not the place to debate private details. Then why did you put private details here? Paige wrote. Jules read over my shoulder. I like her more every hour. Grant's father, Ron, added, Everybody take a breath. An aunt named Celia sent 3 prayer hands emojis, which was her preferred response to weather events, medical diagnoses, and arguments she planned to discuss by phone. Grant's name appeared again. Typing. Nothing. I set the phone on the table. You're not answering? Jules asked. No. She just told 13 adults you threw him out, 12. Celia's second number is still in the group. That's your objection? If Grant wants the correction made, he can make it. He clearly doesn't. Then I have information. Jules opened the takeout containers. She had brought chicken and rice from the Thai place near her store, mild enough that the smell did not turn my stomach. You have a dangerous relationship with information, she said. How? You collect it when a normal person would throw a plate. I like my plates. You packed a red colander for 3 moves. It's a good colander. My phone buzzed privately. Grant, I'm sorry about Mom's message. I waited. No second message came. I typed, correct it. His answer took 2 minutes. I don't want to make this a family spectacle. I looked at the group thread Evelyn had created into a family spectacle. Correct the factual statement that I forced you out, he called. Jules closed the lid on my food. Want privacy? No. Want me to answer in a fake accent? No. I accepted the call. Hey, Grant said. Correct it. I'm going to talk to Mom. She spoke to everyone. She's upset. So am I. I know. Your family now thinks I used my surgery to force you out of the house. No one thinks that. Evelyn thinks it. Mom knows it's more complicated. Celia's praying at 2 phone numbers. He sighed. What do you want me to write? The truth? That I left you at the hospital? If that's the truth you choose, you're trying to humiliate me. I'm asking you not to let your mother lie about me. What if I say, we agreed to take space? We didn't. I'm trying to keep people out of our marriage. You invited Evelyn into our bedroom. Silence. Jules quietly pushed the food back toward me. Are you taking me Monday? I asked. The change of subject caught him. Yes, if you want. Be here at 8. The appointment is at 9. Be here at 8. I will. And correct the message. We hung up. 20 minutes later, Grant wrote to the family group, I chose to stay at Mom and Dad's. Mara did not force me out. She is recovering, and this isn't a good time for speculation. It was not the whole truth, but it was the first piece of it he had carried, without being handed each word. Evelyn did not respond. Celia removed one prayer hands emoji, leaving 2. Grant arrived Monday at 7:48 with coffee and a breakfast sandwich I could not eat before the appointment, because the pain medication had made my stomach unpredictable. I forgot, he said, when I declined it. You remembered coffee. You take it black. He looked down at the cup. Right. He had been married to me for 10 years. I drank coffee with enough cream to concern a cardiologist. I can make tea, he said. We have to leave. He helped me into my coat by holding the right sleeve open and waiting for instructions. The first time I said stop, he stopped. The second time, he tried to tug the fabric over the sling, and I hissed. Sorry, don't pull. I barely touched it. Grant. Okay. He let go. In the driveway, he opened the passenger door and had already placed a folded towel between the seatbelt and my shoulder. Jules must have told him, or he had noticed it in her truck. Either way, I was grateful. The drive to the VA passed mostly in silence. Grant kept both hands on the wheel. At a stoplight, he said, Mom found an apartment. For herself? For me? I turned my head. I told her I wasn't looking. What did she say? That I can't stay in their guest room indefinitely. Reasonable. It's been 4 days. I didn't say her timeline was reasonable. She says the place is close to them and already furnished. Do you want it? No. The answer came fast. Did you tell her no? I told her I wasn't looking. That's not the same word. She heard me. Evelyn hears vacancies. He almost smiled. Then he glanced at the sling. I'm not moving into an apartment. Where are you moving? I don't know. The light changed. At the clinic, he carried my binder without being asked. I watched him check the tabs while we sat beneath a television showing a home renovation program. Every few minutes, a cheerful couple discovered that a wall was load-bearing. Grant tapped the medication chart. Jules initialed here. Yes. Paige did too. Yes. You didn't initial last night. I took it. I forgot to mark it. That's why we made the chart. I looked at him. He stared down at the binder, then laughed once, without humor. Okay. I hear it. Do you? Yeah. Dr. Patel removed the drain while Grant stood near the sink. I had been warned it would feel like pressure. It felt like somebody pulling a wet shoelace through my chest. My left hand clenched on the edge of the exam table. Grant stepped forward. He did not touch me. Can I hold your hand? He asked. I nodded. His palm was warm and damp. I squeezed hard enough to leave nail marks. He did not complain. Afterward, while Dr. Patel redressed the site, Grant asked sensible questions about swelling, sleep position, and the schedule for assisted motion. He wrote the answers in the binder. He sounded like the man I had expected to meet after surgery. In the elevator, I caught myself leaning toward him. That frightened me more than the drain removal. We stopped at a diner on the way home because I needed food before taking medication. Grant ordered my eggs over medium without asking. He remembered I hated grape jelly and traded me his strawberry packet. For 15 minutes, we spoke about ordinary things. The new inventory software at his work, Jules's ongoing war with the coffee machine at the parts store, a neighbor who had painted his mailbox purple. Then Grant said, See? We can still do this. The hope in his face irritated me. Eat breakfast? You know what I mean. I don't want one normal meal to become evidence. Why not? Because you do one good thing and immediately ask it to testify for your character. He set down his fork. You won't let me do anything right. You held my hand. You asked first. That was right, but it doesn't count. It counted when it happened. What else do you want? I want you to stop treating decent behavior like a down payment on forgiveness. His jaw shifted. The waitress passed with a coffee pot and wisely did not stop. I said I was sorry, he said. You've said it about 6 different objects. What does that mean? You're sorry about the flag, the key, the hotel. Evelyn's message. You haven't said what you're sorry for. I'm sorry I left. At the hospital? Yes. Or the marriage. I haven't left the marriage. You asked for a separation. I asked for time. While I was unconscious. He looked around the diner. A man at the counter was folding his newspaper into increasingly narrow sections. 2 women in business clothes shared a plate of fries. Nobody cared about us. I don't know how many times I can say I panicked, Grant said. Panic explains why you left the waiting room. It doesn't explain why my suitcases were waiting when I woke up. That was Mom. That was you using Mom. His face closed. We drove home in silence. Before he left, he carried 2 boxes of my belongings downstairs and moved the television so I could see it from the recliner. He asked if I wanted him to stay. No, I said. This time he nodded without arguing. At the door, he touched the brown leather tab on his recovered key. Can I take this? It's your key. You won't think I'm planning to come in. I'll think you have a key to a house you own. That sounds like a warning. It's a sentence. He took it. The following week settled into a rhythm nobody had chosen. Jules stayed 2 nights, then started sleeping at home once I could manage the bathroom alone. Paige came by with groceries and never again asked me to solve the storage problem. Her sofa had fit in the freight elevator with half an inch to spare. She sent me a photograph as proof. Grant visited every other evening. Sometimes he brought dinner. Sometimes he sat at the table and read the mail while I did assisted shoulder exercises. He learned to wait until I asked for help, though waiting made his knee bounce. He still slept at Evelyn's. He still did not know what he wanted. Evelyn communicated through practical messages. The hotel refund was denied. Your red colander is on my counter somehow. Ron's appointment is Thursday at 10, unless I wrote it wrong. I answered only the one about the appointment. It's in the shared calendar. On Thursday at 10:15, Grant called. Do you know which building Dad's appointment is in? What does the calendar say? Medical Pavilion 2, then Pavilion 2. There are 2 entrances. I'm not there, Grant. I know. Mom's upset because we're late. Then stop calling me and drive. He was quiet. You used to text me the entrance, he said. Yes. Why didn't you this time? Because I'm not in charge of Ron's appointment. I didn't say you were. You called me from the parking lot. He hung up without saying goodbye. An hour later, Paige sent me a photograph of a handwritten sign taped to Evelyn's washing machine. Do not use waiting for part. Beneath it, she wrote, Civilization survives. I laughed hard enough to regret it. The incision healed into a raised pink line. My sling came off for short periods. I began physical therapy with movements so small they seemed insulting until they left me shaking. Progress was measured in degrees and inches. Grant measured too. 4 more degrees than Monday, he said one evening, checking the sheet. I know. That's good. I know. He was standing behind me, close enough that I could feel the heat from his body. In the dark window, we looked like a married couple. I miss you, he said. I lowered my arm. Do you miss me? Or do you miss being welcome here? He stepped back. Does it matter? Yes. I miss my wife. Which version? That isn't fair. No. It's specific. He left angry. 2 days later, he apologized by text. Then he skipped a planned visit because Evelyn needed help moving a cabinet out of the damp utility room. Paige came instead. She brought Thai food and a roll of blue painter's tape. What's that for? I asked. Mom wants to know which furniture Grant is taking. Why does your mother need to know? Paige set the tape on the table. She's putting a deposit on that apartment. He told her no. She says he told her he wasn't looking. I stared at the roll of tape. She asked me to come mark his things, Paige said. I told her she had lost her mind. Did she give you the tape? No. I bought it before I found my mind. She dropped it into the trash. I called Grant. Did you agree to an apartment? No. Did Evelyn put down a deposit? She said she might. Tell her not to. I did. Say the word no. Mara, I'm at work. Then use one syllable. I'll handle it. He did not. Saturday morning, I was standing beside the recliner, performing a slow, assisted stretch, when air brakes hissed outside. A moving truck stopped in front of the house. Behind it, Evelyn parked her sedan. She climbed out, holding a clipboard, and smiled at the movers as if everyone had finally arrived for the solution. For 3 seconds, I stood with my left arm raised to shoulder height, the therapy stick balanced across both palms. Then Evelyn pointed toward the house, and one of the movers opened the back of the truck. I lowered the stick. The movement had taken me 3 weeks to perform without flinching. Evelyn had erased it in half a second. She came up the walk wearing white sneakers and a navy windbreaker. A brass apartment key hung from the clipboard in her hand. "You're up," she said through the storm door. Good. I did not open it. "What are you doing?" "Moving Grant's things. Grant isn't here. He doesn't need to be." "I have a list." She tapped the clipboard. Behind her, the movers unloaded flattened wardrobe boxes and a dolly. One was older, with gray hair tied at his neck. The other had forearms tattooed with blue flames. "Does Grant know you're here?" I asked. "He knows I found the apartment." "That wasn't my question. He told me to handle it." "He told you no." "He told me he wasn't looking." "He wasn't." "I was." I looked at the brass key. "You rented it?" "It's month to month. Furnished. Clean. Less than 6 minutes from our house." "You signed for it?" "I paid the deposit. He can reimburse me when everything settles." "And the utilities?" "Already on. He needs somewhere stable." "He has somewhere stable." "Then why is he sleeping in my guest room?" I reached for my phone on the entry table. Evelyn exhaled. "Please don't make this more difficult in front of strangers. You hired the strangers." The mover with the gray ponytail approached the porch. "Mrs. Vance?" he asked. Both Evelyn and I answered. Yes. He looked from her to me. Evelyn smiled. "We're taking the bedroom dresser, the desk from the upstairs study, the brown leather chair, and the boxes marked with my son's name." "There are no boxes marked with his name," I said. "I brought labels." The mover shifted his clipboard. "Which one of you authorized the job?" "I did," Evelyn said. "Who owns the items?" "My son." "Some of them," I said. "He isn't here." The man's expression settled into professional misery. "We can wait in the truck," he said. "That won't be necessary," Evelyn told him. "It will," I said. He nodded to his partner, and both men retreated with the speed of people paid by the hour. I called Grant. He answered over the sound of an air compressor. "Hey, can I call you back? Your mother is on our porch with a moving truck." Silence. "What?" "She rented you an apartment and brought movers to collect your things." I told her not to. "Did you use the word no?" I told her I would deal with it. She dealt with it first. "I'm coming." He hung up. Evelyn watched me through the glass. "He's at work. You didn't need to drag him away. He says he's coming." Her mouth tightened. "Of course he is." I opened the inner door but left the storm door locked. "What does that mean?" "It means the moment you summon him, he runs. I woke up without him, and you have made sure no one forgets it. You put my clothes in suitcases at the hospital. I was asked to pack. You decided what disappeared from the house. I was trying to give my son one room where he didn't feel like a failure. By removing me from it, by removing the constant reminder that you had 1 foot out the door long before he did." I stared at her. She leaned closer to the glass. "The Army was always the great love of your life. Even injured, even retired, you built everything around what it taught you. Grant could never compete with people who existed in photographs and stories. He wasn't competing, he was. You just never considered him a serious opponent." The words were good, too good. They had the polished rhythm of something Grant had said to her more than once. Did he tell you that? He didn't have to. Yes, he did. Evelyn looked away toward the truck. On the curb, the mover with blue flames was eating crackers from a vending machine packet. The other man pretended to study the route on his phone. "What's in the apartment?" I asked. "Everything he needs." "Which is what? A bed, towels, kitchen basics." I had the cable turned on. "He doesn't watch cable. He watches sports. He streams them." "Fine. He can stream them. You said it was furnished." "Why are you taking our dresser?" "It matches the bed." I laughed. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "You find this funny? I'm trying to picture Grant choosing a dresser based on whether it matches. He doesn't have to choose every detail." "No," I said. "That's the point." A truck turned onto our street too fast. Grant parked behind the moving van and got out in his work clothes, phone still in his hand. His hair was flattened on one side from the headset he wore at the shop. He passed the movers without speaking and came up the walk. "Mom, what the hell?" Evelyn's face softened instantly. "Don't start. This is already awkward. You hired movers. You need to leave their guest room eventually. I told you I wasn't taking the apartment. You said you hadn't seen it. I still haven't." She lifted the key from the clipboard. "Then come see it." Grant looked at the key as if it belonged to a storage locker containing a body. "You signed a lease?" "It's in my name for now, month to month." "You can take it over." "You rented me an apartment without asking." I asked. "No, you told me about a place you found, and you refused to discuss it. That isn't permission." Evelyn glanced at me. "You hear how he sounds now?" "I'm not doing this for Mara," he said. "You wouldn't be upset if she weren't standing there judging you. I'm upset because you brought a moving truck to my house." "Your house?" I asked. He looked at me. Evelyn caught it too. "Well," she said, "at least we've clarified something." Grant rubbed both hands over his face. I unlocked the storm door and stepped onto the porch. The air was cool enough to raise bumps along my bare forearm. I was wearing loose exercise pants and a shirt that buttoned crooked because I had done it myself. "Do you want the apartment?" I asked him. "No." "Do you want the movers to take your things?" "No." "Then tell them." He looked toward the truck. Evelyn stepped between him and the walk. "Before you waste $600, consider where you plan to sleep tonight. I'll figure it out." "You've been figuring it out for weeks. I told you not to rent anything. You told me you didn't know what you wanted. Someone had to make a decision." The sentence hung between them. Grant looked past her, through the open door and into our dining room. From the porch, the lift recliner blocked most of the table. The boxes Evelyn had packed still lined the wall, though Paige and I had sorted their contents. The brass key swung from Evelyn's clipboard. "When did you pack my things?" Grant asked. Her grip tightened. "What things? What did you already move? Only what was at our house. What did you pack? Your duffel, the clothes in the guest room closet, your shaving things, the framed photographs on the dresser. Mom, I knew you'd procrastinate. You went through my duffel? I washed everything first." His face changed. He was seeing it now. Not the exact harm. I did not need him to pretend a washed duffel was the same as a contractor bag holding my flag, but the shape of it. Evelyn had solved his uncertainty by arranging him into the life she preferred. "What pictures?" he asked. "The family pictures. The one of Mara and me?" Evelyn did not answer. "Did you pack the picture of Mara and me?" "You have plenty of pictures." That wasn't the question. I chose what suited the apartment. Grant turned away from her. Evelyn reached for his arm. "You said being at that house made you feel terrible. At their house, yours and Dad's. You knew what I meant." "No," he said. "Apparently I didn't." He walked down to the truck. The movers stood. Grant spoke to the gray-haired man for less than a minute. I could not hear everything, but I heard "cancel" and "I'm sorry." The man pointed to the clipboard, explained a fee, and Grant nodded. Evelyn followed. "You cannot throw away money to prove a point. I'll pay you back." "With what?" "My paycheck. You two have joint accounts. Then I'll move it from my personal spending account. You don't manage that account." Grant stopped. I did not move. Evelyn's face went pale. She had said too much. For years, she had helped Grant with small financial chores because he hated paperwork, reminded him about renewals, found better insurance rates, tracked his work reimbursements. I had not known she had access to his separate spending account. "You manage it?" he asked. "I help." "Do you have the password?" "You gave it to me." "When?" "Years ago." "Do you still log in?" "Only when something needs attention." He stared at her. "You always forget subscriptions," she added. Grant took the clipboard from her. He removed the apartment key and pressed it back into her palm. "I'm not moving there. Then where are you going?" "I don't know." The moving van pulled away. Blue flames gave me a small salute through the windshield, not military, just apologetic, and the truck disappeared around the corner. Evelyn stood at the curb with the key in one hand and the clipboard in the other. "I hope you're happy," she said to me. "No," I said, "I'm not." That answer confused her more than cruelty would have. Grant came back onto the porch. "I told them to leave," he said. "I saw." I told her no. I heard. He waited. The hopeful look was faint but unmistakable. He had chosen one correct action and wanted it to testify. "You want me to thank you?" I asked. "No." "Yes, you do. I thought you'd understand what this means. It means you didn't let your mother move you into an apartment you never saw. It means I'm choosing us." "No." "Choosing us would have happened before the anesthesia." He flinched. Evelyn came up the walk. "That's enough." Grant turned. "Go home, Mom. I'm not leaving you here to be punished." I said, "Go home." "He has nowhere to go," she told me. "He has choices. You won't let him stay. He hasn't asked to stay. He has asked not to choose." Grant looked at the open door. "I want to come home," he said. The sentence I had wanted for weeks arrived and found nowhere to land. "To this house?" I asked. "Or to this marriage?" "Both." "Why?" "Because I love you. You loved me when you booked the hotel." He closed his eyes. I stepped back inside. My shoulder was beginning to shake from the cold and the therapy exercise I had interrupted. "If you want to stay married," I said, "you need to explain what changes besides your address. If you want to separate, say it. Pack your own things and correct the story you let your family believe. I already corrected the message. You corrected one sentence. You still let them think this was mutual." Evelyn crossed her arms. "Why do they need details?" "Because you used their judgment to isolate me. I was protecting my son." "Then let him speak." We both looked at Grant. His face tightened with the effort of standing between two women who had finally refused to translate for him. "I want a separation," he said. The words were quiet. Evelyn exhaled. Grant looked directly at me. "I don't want it," he said, "but I do." I nodded once. "Then pack." He went upstairs. Evelyn followed him as far as the bedroom. I followed more slowly, one step at a time, because there were things in that room that belonged to both of us and things that belonged to neither mother. Grant opened his closet and pulled a suitcase onto the bed. Evelyn reached for a stack of his shirts. I put my left hand on top of them. "No, he needs help. He needs to know what leaving weighs." Evelyn looked at Grant. He took the shirts from beneath my hand. "Mom," he said, "don't pack for me." Evelyn stared at him. Grant folded the first shirt badly. One sleeve hung out of the suitcase. "You're shaking," she said. "I'm fine. You're upset. I'm packing. You don't have to do this today." He looked at me. "Yes, I do." She followed his gaze and stiffened. "Because she ordered you? Because I've spent a month refusing to finish a decision I started. You were confused. I was afraid. That's the same thing under enough pressure." "No, Mom, it isn't." Grant folded another shirt. He had never been good at it. He matched the shoulders, tucked the sleeves behind, then rolled the fabric into something shaped like a burrito. Evelyn's fingers flexed at her sides. "The apartment is ready," she said. "I'm not taking it. You can't stay with us now." Grant paused. The threat surprised him. It did not surprise me. "Why not?" he asked. "Because you have somewhere appropriate to go, and I'm not going to participate in this performance where everyone rejects my help and then expects me to provide another solution. What about the hotel?" Evelyn blinked. "The reservation you said cost $740, he continued. "Is it still active?" "Until Monday. I'll go there." Her mouth opened and closed. It was not the solution she had imagined. The hotel was supposed to hold me, injured and displaced, while Grant remained surrounded by everything familiar. Now he would sleep beside the interstate. With the suitcase, he packed himself. "It's hardly comfortable," she said. "You booked it for Mara after shoulder surgery. I was told it had accessible facilities. Then I'll have a very accessible shower." A laugh escaped me before I could stop it. Grant looked over. For 1 second, his mouth pulled toward a smile. Then he remembered why we were there. Evelyn picked up her purse from the bedroom chair. "Fine, I'll wait downstairs." "No," he said, "go home. I brought you here. I drove myself. I mean emotionally. Jules would have paid money to hear that sentence." Grant set a stack of socks in the suitcase. "Go home, Mom. You'll need help carrying everything. I'll make more than one trip." "With Mara watching you?" "Yes." Evelyn turned to me. "You're enjoying this." "No. You wanted him to defy me. I wanted him to speak for himself. He just did." "Yes." She had no answer for that. At the door, she touched Grant's shoulder. He did not pull away, but he did not turn toward her either. "I love you," she said. "I love you too." It was not forgiveness. It was not rejection. Evelyn left without getting either one. We listened to her descend the stairs. The front door closed hard enough to rattle the empty hangers in my side of the closet. Grant resumed packing. I sat in the bedroom chair because the climb had left my legs weak. 3 weeks earlier, my shadow box had been face down beside that chair. Now it hung in the study again, the chipped corner repaired with a dark wood marker Paige found in my toolbox. The crack was still visible if you knew where to look. Grant opened the bottom dresser drawer and stared into it. "What are you looking for?" I asked. "My gray sweatpants. Laundry room." He started toward the door, then stopped. "I can find them." "I know." He went downstairs. That became the rhythm. Open a drawer, decide, fold badly, carry, return. No one handed him a list. No one chose which version of his life belonged in the suitcase. He took his work shirts, jeans, socks, underwear, shaving kit, medications, laptop, 2 books he had been pretending to read, and the fantasy football trophy Evelyn had put in the trash. He wiped coffee grounds from the base before packing it. He left the framed wedding photograph on the dresser. "You can take that," I said. "Do you want me to?" "It's your photograph, too." He picked it up. We were standing beneath a pecan tree outside the courthouse because the larger wedding we planned became unbearable after Evelyn invited 40 people we had never met. Grant's tie was crooked. I was laughing at something Paige said just before the picture. He wrapped the frame in a T-shirt. In the guest room, he found the lake photograph. "Why is this in here?" Evelyn packed it. She always hated that bathing suit. That was my theory. He smiled, then traced the cracked corner of the frame. "Can I take this one?" "Yes." "What will you put in the entryway?" "I don't know." His expression changed at that answer. We had both expected me to have a replacement selected. He packed the picture. On the 3rd trip downstairs, I followed him as far as the landing. My shoulder protested, but I needed to see the house changing while I was awake. The front door stood open. Sunlight fell across 2 suitcases and a duffel on the porch. They were not the green suitcases Evelyn had packed for me. Grant had chosen the black roller bag we bought for a trip to Nashville and an old canvas suitcase that belonged to his father. "Do you need the truck keys?" I asked. "In my pocket. Phone charger in the front pouch. Toothbrush?" He looked at me. "Sorry," I said. "No, it's okay. It isn't." He zipped the suitcase. "I did rely on you," he said. "Then I resented you for being reliable. I relied on being needed." He looked up. "I told Paige I was sorry," I continued, "for taking over after her divorce. You helped her. I did both. Grant sat on the bottom step. Were you doing that with me? Yes. The word hurt him. I let it. I thought if I made everything easy enough, I said, you'd stop feeling threatened by the hard parts. I didn't feel threatened. You left a surgical waiting room and moved me into a hotel. Okay. You were threatened. Okay. I sat several steps above him, keeping my right arm close to my body. But making things easy gave you somewhere to hide, I said. I can see that now. You think I'm a coward. I think you did a cowardly thing. Difference? One is a sentence. The other can change. He stared through the open doorway. Can we change? He asked. I don't know. Do you want to? I want to finish healing before I decide whether I can trust you with anything tender. His eyes moved to my shoulder. I don't just mean the surgery. I know. He nodded. Then he picked up his phone. The Vance family group was still active. Evelyn had posted a photograph of the apartment's living room the previous night. Beige couch, glass coffee table, landscape print above a television Grant did not own. Celia had replied that it looked peaceful. Grant typed for a long time. He showed me the message before sending it. Mara and I are separating because I asked for it. She did not agree to it before surgery. I left the hospital while she was in the operating room, asked Mom to pack clothes, and arranged for Mara to recover at a hotel rather than come home. Mara did not force me out. I avoided telling her because I was afraid of the conversation. Please stop blaming her for my decision. Don't show me, I said. Send it because it's true. He sent it. The first response came from Paige. Thank you for saying it plainly. Ron wrote, we love you both. Celia sent a single heart. Evelyn left the group. Grant put the phone away. That's going to be bad, he said. Yes. You're not sorry. I'm sorry truth feels bad. He carried the first suitcase to his truck. I did not help. At the hotel, he texted me a photograph of the waffle machine beneath a handwritten sign that said, out of order. I laughed. Then I cried so hard I had to press the recliner button and wait for the chair to hold me upright. Grant stayed at the Hawthorne Suites until the reservation ended. He did not move into Evelyn's apartment. He found a studio above a dental office 10 minutes from work, with a narrow kitchen and windows facing a brick wall. He chose the furniture himself, which meant nothing matched, and the only chair was uncomfortable. He began seeing a therapist. He told me because he wanted credit. Then, to his credit, he kept going after I refused to give it. Our conversations became less frequent and more honest. We discussed the mortgage, utility bills, and who would keep the cast iron skillet. Grant claimed it was his because he seasoned it. I reminded him that spraying cooking oil on it once did not constitute a relationship. Paige handled her own second storage delivery. Ron entered his appointments into his phone. Evelyn hired an appliance repair company without consulting me. The family survived, though everything ran 10 minutes late and nobody knew where the extra folding chairs were. My shoulder improved by inches. Jules attended physical therapy the day I raised my arm high enough to touch the bottom shelf of a cabinet. She cheered so loudly the therapist dropped a resistance band. Professional environment, I told her. I saw your armpit. We're beyond professionalism. I returned to my job at the county bus garage on shortened days, planning maintenance schedules while my arm regained strength. The mechanics followed my restrictions more carefully than I did. If I reached toward a tool cart, 3 men shouted at once. At home, I moved from the lift recliner back to the bedroom. The first night, the space beside me felt enormous. I added a second pillow, not for Grant, just because I liked having somewhere to put my left arm. We met with a mediator about the house. There was no surprise document, no clever clause, no hidden account waiting to make the decision easy. Grant had equity in it. So did I. Keeping it would require a buyout, a new loan, and several years of saying no to things I wanted. You should keep it, he said in the parking lot afterward. Don't give me something I have to purchase. I mean, if you want it, I do. That was the clearest answer I had given about us. The appraisal came in lower than Evelyn predicted and higher than I hoped. I took the papers home and spent the evening with a calculator, making my own plan for my own life. While clearing the guest room to prepare for an inspection, I found 2 green suitcases tucked behind the donation boxes. They still smelled faintly of Evelyn's perfume. I carried them downstairs one at a time. Then I began filling them with everything in the house that belonged to her. There was more than I expected. 2 cardigans Evelyn kept over the back of our guest room chair, a stack of gardening magazines she had asked Grant to save, 3 casserole dishes, 1 chipped pie plate, the hand mixer from the donation box, and a gravy boat nobody had used since our first Thanksgiving in the house. I found her gardening gloves beneath the kitchen sink and an umbrella in the hall closet. A pair of rubber boots sat in the garage beside mine. She'd left a Bible in the guest room nightstand, with grocery receipts, marking her favorite passages. The suitcases filled quickly. Paige came over while I was wrapping the gravy boat in newspaper. "Are you mailing Mom somewhere?" She'd exceed the weight limit. Paige opened the larger suitcase and pulled out a cream cardigan. "I've been looking for this. It's Evelyn's. No, it's mine. She took it from my apartment after the divorce because she said cream washed me out." I held out my hand. Paige passed it over. "Still want it?" I asked. She looked at the cardigan, then put it on. "I look fantastic. You look washed out." "Shut up." She helped me identify the things that belonged to Evelyn and the things Evelyn had merely claimed. The gardening magazines were Ron's. The pie plate had belonged to Paige's grandmother, and Paige wanted it. The rubber boots were apparently Grant's, although nobody could explain why he owned purple boots 2 sizes too small. "Mom bought them on sale," Paige said. The size was less important than the discount. The suitcases became lighter once ownership was treated as a question instead of an assumption. Paige set the hand mixer beside Evelyn's serving dishes. "When are you taking these over?" "I haven't decided. You could leave them on her porch. I don't want to do to her what she did to me. That's inconveniently mature." "I hate it." She closed the suitcase. "Mom asks about you," she said. "Through you?" "Sometimes." "What do you tell her?" "That you have a phone." Paige had stopped translating for everyone. It made conversations shorter and silences more honest. The refinance took 6 weeks. Every form generated another form. The lender wanted proof of income, proof of insurance, proof that Grant and I had agreed on the value, and a written explanation for a deposit that turned out to be reimbursement for the lift recliner. There was no satisfying trick to it. I cut my retirement contributions temporarily, postponed replacing my truck, and gave up the idea of remodeling the upstairs bathroom. Keeping the house cost me money I could feel. That mattered. I did not win it because Grant had behaved badly. I kept it because we owned it together. He accepted a fair buyout, and I chose the smaller life required to afford it. The day before the papers were scheduled to close, the medical equipment company collected the recliner. The delivery driver pressed the button and raised it one last time. "You sure you're done with this beauty?" he asked. "I can stand on my own." "Everybody says that until football season." After he left, the dining room seemed enormous. 4 shallow dents marked the carpet where the chair had sat. I put the table back in the center of the room but had to stop halfway when my shoulder began to burn. I stood with both hands on the table, angry at the last 18 inches. Then I called Jules. She arrived 20 minutes later in one of her black t-shirts. "This is your emergency?" "The table is crooked. It's always been crooked. The room is crooked. The table is misplaced." She pushed it into position with one hip. "You could have waited until tomorrow," she said. "I could have. You could have asked Paige. She's working. You could have left it crooked. Don't get ridiculous." Jules looked at my right arm. "Do the thing." "What thing?" "The shelf." I raised my hand above my head and touched the bottom of the china cabinet shelf. The motion still tightened across the scar, but my arm went up cleanly. No trembling, no sharp catch. Jules nodded. "Not bad. You cheered at therapy." I was younger then. She stayed for coffee. We sat at the dining table, and for the first time since surgery, it was just a table again. Grant came the next afternoon to collect his final box and sign the last documents before closing. He had lost weight. though not enough for me to mention without sounding like Evelyn. His hair was longer. The studio above the dental office had taught him to cook 3 meals and hate the smell of fluoride. He set a folder on the table. "Everything's signed." I checked anyway. He watched me turn each page. "I would have been offended before," he said. "Are you now?" "No." The settlement transferred his interest in the house once the loan funded. The buyout amount was fair. We had divided the retirement accounts, vehicles, tools, furniture, and debts without becoming the people we disliked most. He kept the cast iron skillet. I kept the red colander. His final box sat near the stairs. It held old work manuals, tax records, a set of golf clubs he had used twice, and the framed wedding photograph he had taken when he left. "You're leaving that?" I asked. Grant looked at the picture. "I brought it back." "Why?" "I thought it belonged here. It belongs to one of us. Do you want it?" I studied the 2 people beneath the pecan tree. We looked happy because we had been happy. The ending did not change the weather that day or the joke Paige had made. It did not straighten Grant's tie. "Yes," I said. He placed the photograph on the entry table. "I kept the lake one," he said. "I know. It's in my studio." "Okay." He noticed the green suitcases beside the guest room door. "Those Mom's things?" "Mostly." Paige reclaimed a cardigan and a pie plate. Mom still says that pie plate was hers. Then she can discuss it with Paige. He smiled. We carried his final box to his truck together. He took the heavy end. I carried the side with the manuals, my right arm close to my body. At the tailgate, he hesitated. "Mom let the apartment go," he said. "Good. She lost the deposit. That's unfortunate. She thinks I should reimburse her. Are you going to?" "No." The answer no came easier to him now. Not easily. Easier. "She's barely speaking to me," he continued. "I'm sorry." "You mean that?" "Yes." I kept thinking once I set boundaries, everything would feel clean. It doesn't. "No." He closed the tailgate. "I used to think you didn't care when people were angry with you. I cared. I just had practice doing the job anyway. From the army? From everywhere." He nodded. The pecan tree in the front yard had begun dropping leaves across the driveway. Grant bent and picked one from beneath his windshield wiper. "I'm sorry I left you at the hospital," he said. I waited. "I'm sorry I knew you couldn't stop me that morning," he continued. "I knew you wouldn't cancel once you were in pre-op. I told myself I was protecting the surgery, but I was protecting myself from having to look at you when I said I wanted to leave." He rubbed the dry leaf between his fingers until its edges broke. "I'm sorry I let Mom pack your things. I knew she'd do more than I asked. Maybe not the flag or the donation boxes, but I knew she would turn my fear into a project. That was why I called her." The apology did not soften the past. It gave it a shape I could finally stop arguing with. "Thank you," I said. He looked toward the house. "I miss it." "The house? You?" I did not pretend to misunderstand. "I miss you too," I said. Hope moved across his face before I could finish. "But I don't miss our marriage." He looked down. "That's fair?" "It isn't about fair." "I know. You're changing." "I'm trying. I believe you." That was the gift. Not another chance. Not a promise that enough therapy sessions could turn betrayal into a detour. I believed him when he said he was trying. He swallowed. "I still wish it mattered differently." "So do I." We stood beside his truck until the silence stopped demanding anything. Then Grant removed his house key from the brown leather tab. "I guess this is yours." He placed it in my palm. "The leather was supposed to make you stop losing it," I said. "It worked. Mom lost it for me." I laughed. He did too. The sound hurt, but not in the old place. Grant drove away with the last box. I watched until his truck turned off our street, then went inside and placed the key in the blue dish beside my wedding ring. The ring had stayed there through therapy appointments, lender calls, and mediation sessions. I had never put it back on. That evening, I moved it to the jewelry box upstairs. I kept the blue dish by the door. The loan funded on a Wednesday. An email arrived while I was at the bus garage, buried between messages about brake inspections and a delayed shipment of coolant hoses. I read it twice, closed my computer, and finished the maintenance schedule before telling anyone. Jules found out when I handed her the spare key. She turned it over. "What's this?" "You know what it is. The dangerous fake sprinkler key." "I'm getting rid of the fake sprinkler." "Good. It fooled nobody. I want you to have it." Her expression changed. "For emergencies," I added. "Obviously." "I thought it was a marriage proposal. You'd never survive my binders. I'd burn them." She attached the key to her ring. That weekend, Paige came over with a drill and asked before installing a hook in the upstairs closet. The hook was crooked. I left it that way. By late afternoon, the green suitcases were packed and waiting beside the front door. I planned to call Evelyn after dinner and arrange a time to drop them off. At 5, the doorbell rang. Evelyn stood on the porch, holding a covered casserole dish. Her hair was shorter. The pearl earrings were gone. She wore a brown coat I had never seen before and held the casserole with both hands, as though it might try to escape. "I heard the house closed," she said. "From Grant?" "Ron." I waited. "I made chicken and rice," she said. "You used to like it. I still do." Her eyes moved past me and found the green suitcases. "What are those?" "Your things." She gave a small laugh. "You packed my bags." "Yes." The laugh disappeared. For a moment we were back in the hospital with a zipper between us and somebody else's life being arranged. "I came to apologize," she said. "Okay, may I come in?" "No." The answer landed. She looked toward the driveway, perhaps checking whether Paige or Jules might appear and make the moment easier. Neither did. "I believed I was helping Grant," she said. "I know. I thought you were too hard on him. I know that too. You made him feel unnecessary. He felt unnecessary. That isn't always the same thing." Her fingers tightened around the casserole handles. "You never needed anyone. I needed my husband when I woke up." Evelyn looked down. "I was angry at you," she said, "for being in pain and still being the person everyone called. Ron called you about appointments. Paige called you about moving. Grant called you about everything. I kept thinking, what is left for me?" The honesty surprised me. "So you made me helpless," I said. "I thought if Grant took care of you, he would resent you more. I thought if he left first, he would come to me. He did, for a while." Wind moved dead leaves along the porch. "I should not have gone through your things," Evelyn said. "I should not have packed the bedroom. I should not have brought those suitcases to the hospital. It was not perfect." She still spoke as if the harm lived mainly in objects, but she had named the objects herself. "I'm sorry," she said. I believed she was sorry. That did not make her safe. I stepped onto the porch and indicated the suitcases. "Your serving dishes are in the large one. The hand mixer is wrapped in a towel. Ron's magazines are not in there because they're Ron's." Her mouth twitched despite herself. "The casserole?" she asked. I took it. "Thank you." She looked at the open doorway behind me. "Do you think I'll ever be welcome inside? I don't know." It was not punishment. It was the truth. Evelyn set her purse on the porch, extended the suitcase handles, and took one in each hand. "They're heavy. Yes, you could help me to the car." "I could." She looked at me. Then she nodded once and pulled them herself. At the driveway, she stopped. "Help without consent is control," I said. "If you remember anything I've said, remember that." Evelyn looked back at the house. "I will try," she said. She loaded the suitcases into her trunk without asking me to lift the heavy end. I stood on the porch holding the warm casserole. When her car disappeared around the corner, I went inside. My wedding photograph rested on the entry table above the blue key dish. I left it there. Then I closed the door with my right hand, and the latch caught cleanly.